96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good morning. Take the vaccine or face termination. Why a number of businesses are taking this hardline stance for employees. Dorian survivors telling their harrowing tales in the coroner's inquest. And in our discussion today, we are talking about the Shantytown dilemma. Our guest, Luby George, will be here with us. It's all straight ahead this morning. I'm Dwight Strachan. And this is Morning Blend.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's here. It's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up. It's a new day. Wake up. It's a new day.
Good morning again, Bahamas. It is Thursday, April 15th, 2021. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Again, I'm Dwight Strachan. In a moment, Laverne Gardner will be joining us. Also this morning in Morning Blend Business, we're going to be talking about the upcoming credit bureau and credit unions and banking, what you need to know, all part of our month-long financial literacy month series. And I'm looking forward to that discussion coming up in Morning Blend Business. But first, it's time for the overnight, the latest breaking news from while we're sleeping, and the top national and international headlines this morning. In the overnight, 58 new COVID cases confirmed in the Bahamas on Tuesday, the highest single-day increase in months. Of the new cases, 46 were in New Providence, 9 on Grand Bahama, 2 in Abaco, and 1 in Eleuthera. Another COVID-19 death was also confirmed. According to the Ministry of Health, a 53-year-old man from New Providence died on April 9th from COVID, bringing the total death count to 191 now for the Bahamas. Another 42 people have died with COVID, but not because of it, while 26 deaths have not been classified yet, as they are still under investigation. In the past week, from April 7th to April 14th, there were 267 new COVID-19 cases. By comparison, 151 cases were confirmed the week before, between March 31st and April 16th. In January, a total of 336 cases were reported and 335 cases reported in February. However, both Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis and Minister of Health Robert Wells have said recently they don't see a need for more restrictions. Meanwhile, PLP leader Philip Davis says that he's deeply concerned about the recent increase in COVID-19 cases and what appears to be the government's lack of action to stem the flow. In other news, the owners of Sushi Rokan restaurant at Old Fort Town Center are mandating now that employees receive the COVID-19 vaccine by June 30th, warning that failure of staff to adhere to the policy may result in disciplinary action, including dismissal. A notice to employees said that the company has a, quote, duty to provide and maintain a safe workplace. We are adopting this policy to safeguard the health of our employees and their families. our customers and visitors and the community at large from COVID-19, which is reduced by vaccinations. In making this decision, management has reviewed recommendations by the World Health Organization and the government of the Bahamas, as government's rollout of vaccine administration has not proceeded with the speed and efficiency we had anticipated. We're giving you ample opportunity in the form of 2 months' notice before rigid implementation of the policy. A statement also noting that employees who are unwilling to be vaccinated on medical grounds will be required to support their objections by providing medical certificates from qualified epidemiologists, virologists, or immunologists, or other equivalent medical specialists. The restaurant is jointly owned by Michael Scott QC and his wife Scott yesterday, saying that he has been hearing all, quote, types of garbage on social media all day long. He noted that he's not paying attention to any of that. The rollout of the COVID-19 vaccine in New Providence will pause this coming Saturday. That's according to Deputy Chair of the National COVID-19 Vaccine Consultative Committee, Ed Fields. He says it's being paused for evaluation purposes. To date, the Bahamas has received 53,600 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine, with another 67,200 doses from the COVAX facility due in the country next month. And at the last update on Sunday, 15,000 doses had been administered. The global rollout of the COVID-19 vaccine has been plagued with delays and shortages due to the high demand. In some wealthier countries have been able to purchase enough doses of the COVID-19 vaccine to inoculate their entire population. Poor countries have been struggling to secure doses. And Bahamas Utility Service and Allied Workers Union President Dwayne Woods charging that the Water and Sewage Corporation acted prematurely when it placed Kirk Cornish, a water and sewage employee who was ratified by the PLP last month. He's been placed on leave. Under Article 13 of the union's industrial agreement, employees vying for a national election are to be given time off without pay to prepare for the election. And those people are to resume their duties within 1 month after the election if unsuccessful. Cornish, a senior serviceman for WSC for Abaco, was ratified by the PLB for North Abaco on March 16th. In a March 23rd letter to Cornish, Corporation Assistant General Manager Cyprian Gibson advised that in accordance with the industrial agreement, he would be placed on unpaid administrative leave effective immediately. You can read more about this in today's Nassau Guardian. Overseas, India reported more than 200,000 new coronavirus cases in one day, Thursday, skyrocketing past 14 million overall, as an intensifying outbreak puts a grim weight on its fragile healthcare system. In the capital, New Delhi, more than a dozen hotels and wedding banquet halls were ordered to be converted into COVID-19 centers attached to hospitals. Delhi's top elected official announcing weekend curfews to break the chain of infections in the capital, which added 17,282 new cases and 104 more deaths in the previous 24 hours. Trips to railway stations, hospitals, and airports will be allowed as essential services, but shopping malls, gymnasiums, spas, and auditoriums must close. 5,000 hospital beds are also going to be available, and more capacity is being added so that there was no bed shortage in the capital. In recent days, migrant workers hauling backpacks have swarmed overcrowded trains leaving Mumbai, an exodus among panic-stricken day laborers. In addition to the 200,739 new cases of infection, the Ministry of Health also reported 1,038 fatalities from COVID in the past 24 hours, taking deaths to 173,123 since the pandemic started last year for India. India's total cases are second behind only the United States, and its deaths are fourth behind the U.S., Brazil, and Mexico. The actual numbers may be much higher with limited testing among India's nearly 1.4 billion people. sports, it may be a few months out, but the Bahamas' senior men's national cricket team is ready for battle, training for the International Cricket Council's Men's 2020 World Cup Americas qualifier tournament set for July 17th through 23rd in Toronto, Canada. The tournament is the first qualifier for the 2022 ICC Men's T20 World Cup. The top two teams will progress to one of two global qualifiers. The tournament was originally set for August 2020, but was postponed, of course, as a result of COVID. The Bahamas is set to take part in the tournament along with Argentina, Belize, Bermuda, Canada, the Cayman Islands, Panama, and the United States. We'll read more about this in today's Guardian Sports section. And Bahamian professional baseball player with the Miami Marlins, Jazz Chisholm Jr., hitting his second home run of the season and his second in 3 games Wednesday night in a game against the Atlanta Braves in Atlanta. Chisholm's 3-run shot to deep center field came off an 86.2 miles per hour cutter from Braves starting pitcher Charlie Morton and gave the Marlins a 5-0 lead in the third inning. In his first at-bat in the top of the second inning, Chisholm had a single and connected for towering 3-run home run in his second at-bat. The Marlins went on to win that game. That's sports, and that's the overnight. Time for your first look at weather. In your weather for today, we've got a high-pressure ridge that will continue to create some pleasant conditions across the islands through tonight. Beachgoers, though, should remain alert due to the slight risk of rip currents. For all areas today, we're looking at partly sunny to sunny and warm conditions with a stray shower or two possible, becoming mostly fair and mild today. Wind southeast to south at 10 to 50 knots in the northwest Bahamas, east to southeast at 10 knots or less in the central or southeastern islands. Seas 2 to 4 feet, but slightly higher in light swells across Atlantic exposed shorelines. It's about 68 degrees right now in Nassau under fair skies. Look for highs getting up to around 82 Fahrenheit, 28 Celsius. Overnight lows getting down about 66 Fahrenheit, 19 Celsius. That's your first look at weather this morning. We'll have your extended outlook coming up after traffic in just a bit.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
You are listening to Morning Blend. When we come back, we're discussing the day's top stories right here on Guardian Radio 96.9, your home for fresh news and smart talk all day.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Cash is what we have been using for generations, but it's no longer the only way to pay or receive money. That is great news for business owners. I'm Lasanya Mizik, Managing Director at RBC Royal Bank, encouraging you to find out how going cashless can benefit your business with faster transactions and settlements, better cash flow management, plus reduce risk of theft. Learn more at rbc.com/Caribbean/go cashless. RBC Royal Bank, banking reimagined.
Technology serves to make our lives better, so why not your business too? At Custom Computers, we've been maintaining our knowledge and relationships with top tech companies since 1987 and carry only the most trusted brands like Apple, Microsoft, HP, and more. No company has helped more businesses build reliable IT systems than Custom Computers. You name it, we've done it. Call 396-1101 to talk to any of our business experts. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at MorningBlend969 or Facebook.com/MorningBlend969. Text us on the Guardian Radio text line powered by BTC 422-GR96, 422-4796, standard text rate supply. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan. Joining me now, Laverne Gardner. Laverne Gardner, good morning.
Good morning. Happy Thursday. How are you?
I'm doing well. Happy Thursday to you as well. Hope you've been having a great week.
Yeah, I have.
Wonderful stuff. We have a lot of exciting things to talk about this morning. And coming up in our 7 o'clock hour, we're going to be talking about the shantytown dilemma. We've been talking about that quite a bit over the past few days, but we're going to get an interesting perspective from Loopy Georges, as some say. He's going to be here. Some of our callers have been calling his name, and he's heard it. And he says he's being misrepresented by some people. But he has his views, and I'm sure they're going to be quite interesting.
Right.
That's coming up this morning. And then in Morning Blend Business, we are continuing with our series on financial literacy. It is Financial Literacy Month. In part 2 today, we are talking about the credit bureau that is on the horizon. Are you ready for it? And how will this affect you with your banks and credit unions and your credit history? What you need to know and be thinking about now, or should have been thinking about. That's coming up this morning. So a lot to get to this morning. Let's begin, though, with what's in the news. And in the news, quite a number of big stories in the newspapers today. In the Nassau Guardian, the headline, Take Vaccine or Face Termination. We saw a couple of these letters going around yesterday. We're going to talk about that in a bit. That's a big story there. The other stories, of course, the COVID cases, 58 cases in one day, Tuesday. The highest single-day increase in months. There was an additional death as well. A 53-year-old man from New Providence died on the 9th of April. 46 cases in New Providence alone on Tuesday. So that's pretty scary there. That's a significant jump. We will see. We'll see what the next few days, what those numbers look like. But that is Boy, that's something. All right, so that's happening, and then we're hearing that the vaccination process is going to be paused here for New Providence come Saturday, as officials look to reevaluate and what's been going on and where they are at. You know, we only have a limited number of vaccine doses here, and this has been an issue from the beginning. Do you wait to see when the other doses will arrive, or do you need to save some to give this first set of people their second dose? What do you do? And we know there's a global shortage all over, of course, global. And this is an uncomfortable situation to be in, I'm sure. For our health officials. But we will see. We'll see. Hopefully they'll keep us posted on that. There's also an interesting story here. PLP candidate placed on unpaid leave from job at Water and Sewage Corporation. The union is saying it's a little premature, but the corporation is saying they're just citing their industrial agreement, although the union says they're interpreting it wrong. So that's going to be an interesting battle there. But I want to begin with the coroner's inquest into the deaths of people from Dorian, what's been happening there. The coroner's inquest into the presumed deaths of 34 Hurricane Dorian victims has prompted emotional testimony from loved ones who lost family during the storm. For more on this, take a listen to this report from our Jared Higgs.
That inquest revealed that 4 people reported missing in the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian have been identified through DNA testing. But emotional testimony reveals that not everybody has gotten closure. Trevelia St. Hill, a former resident of Pigeon P in Abaco, was inconsolable at points as she told the court through an interpreter about the last time she saw her husband, Emmanuel St. Hill. With the storm approaching, St. Hill says she urged her husband to take their family somewhere safer. When he didn't move, she left with their 6-year-old son and rode out the storm in Murphytown with relatives. Days later, she says her husband's body was found a short distance from their flattened home. During the difficult testimony, even the court interpreter was brought to tears. St. Hill says a DNA sample was taken from her son while she was still living at the shelter, but she hasn't been informed of any match. The grieving woman, who now lives in New Providence, was offered counseling and told the court that she prays to God about her troubles. She also lamented the fact that immigration officials reportedly want her to pay for her husband's permit fees before she can pay for her spousal permit. Coroner Janine Weech-Gomez told her that at the end of the process, she will hopefully have a death certificate she can take to immigration. Also giving evidence on Wednesday was Jason Farquharson. He testified about the events that led up to his wife, Kathleen Farquharson's presumed death. Farquharson, who appeared emotional during his evidence, wasn't in Abaco at the time of the storm, so the court is hoping to take evidence from his wife's son via video link. Also appearing was Deputy Director of the Department of Meteorology, Michael Stubbs. He testified that he was emotionally traumatized while forecasting the storm, especially as he watched it grow from a Category 4 to a Category 5. He said he never saw a storm intensify so rapidly in his 30 years as a hurricane forecaster. He offered condolences on behalf of the Department of Meteorology to the families of the storm victims. Reporting for the Guardian News Network, I'm Jared Higgs.
It's going to be tough to go through.
It's heart-wrenching. As people have to come up and give testimony, give evidence, they're reliving this tragic event.
Yeah. Boy.
Right.
Boy, oh boy. Yeah. I have something to say. I don't think I should say it on the air. But, yeah, I pray they find the strength to make it through this again.
Yeah.
This is difficult. But okay, I'm gonna go there. Does this need to be a long, drawn-out process, though? I mean, right. This is right.
I'm with you on that.
I mean, how long? This is, I think, the second day now, and are we gonna everybody? That story about not being provided a death certificate and how that's impacting people's lives, I'm sure that is awful. It's been years now. It's been a couple of years, but anyway. All right, I don't know.
Yeah, everything is a process, right? So
I guess.
I'm trying to say to myself, this is the process of what has to be done. But I also know that we expedite what we want to expedite.
Exactly.
So even if we have processes and laws in place, we know how to work around them. We've all seen it done in one area or the other. So I think that this should be given those kinds of considerations. Like you said, we're listening to this every day, but it's not even about a matter of us listening to it. It is people who've lost their loved ones. They are still grieving. They are still mourning. And I think we have to be sensitive to that and just find a way to make this process a little bit easier for them.
Definitely.
And I think that's the point. Everybody has a job to do. Questions need to be answered. I'm not saying to not do that. I'm just saying we need to make sure that we do that in the most humane way possible.
Let's hope that's what happens. What happens.
I don't know. Do they have to give us the money? Can't we just get the DNA sample, do the things that we need to do, award the death certificates, and go from there?
Apparently it's not that simple.
I know, right?
Yeah. Boy. Well, okay. We will see. We will see what happens. All right, so let's talk about the other big story today. How do you feel about it? Should you be made to take a vaccine to continue to work at your job? We talked about it a few months ago on the show, whether this is likely to become something. And, of course, people could see that we were heading in that direction, and it's starting now here. Want to get your views on it, but take a listen to this report. I'm going to read it to you. This is in today's Nassau Guardian, our Jasper Ward writing about it. The owners of Sushi Rokan restaurant at Old Fort Bay Town Center are mandating that employees receive the COVID-19 vaccine by June 30th, warning that failure of staff to adhere to the policy may result in disciplinary action, including dismissal. A notice to employees reads, quote, Sushi Rokan has a duty to provide and maintain a safe workplace. We're adopting this policy to safeguard the health of our employees and their families, our customers and visitors, and the community at large from COVID-19, which is reduced by vaccinations. In making this decision, management has reviewed recommendations by the World Health Organization and the government of the Bahamas. As government's rollout of vaccine administration has not proceeded with the speed and efficiency we had anticipated, we're giving you ample opportunity in the form of 2 months' notice before rigid implementation of this policy. The statement notes that employees who are unwilling to be vaccinated on medical grounds will be required to support their objection by providing medical certificates from qualified epidemiologists, virologists, I got it earlier. Immunologists, all the big ologists are going to be required to show this. So you know they are very serious. Or other equivalent medical specialists. And management will endeavor to reassign you appropriately, although given the nature of the company's business, this may not be possible. Termination may then be inevitable. Unsupported or unjustified refusal to be vaccinated will result in the immediate termination of your employment. The restaurant is jointly owned by, guess who? Michael Scott QC and his wife. Scott said yesterday that he's been hearing, quote, all types of garbage on social media all day long. He noted that he is, quote, not paying attention to all that misanthropic, half-baked, illogical nonsense. And he went on to say, quote, nobody is going to intimidate me.
You
Nobody.
mean the way he's intimidating his staff?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
ooh.
I'm sorry.
Oh boy.
Sorry.
Oh boy. Okay. He says, quote, nobody is going to threaten me and have me pay attention to any threats, and they can threaten to sue me, but I have a larger duty, so does my wife, to protect the general body of staff who works for these restaurants, as well as protect the dining public. The minute it gets out that somebody got infected dining in the restaurant, the business is done. It's finished. You might as well write it off. Secondly, that's not the kind of reputation you want or my wife wants. Scott says Bahamians need to get used to such policies. Uh-oh. He said there will come a time when individuals who are not vaccinated will not be able to travel. He said, quote, countries such as the United States, such as Canada, such as the European countries, such as other countries in the Caribbean are going to require you to have proof of vaccination. And in other words, what has colloquially been referred to as a COVID passport. If you do not have that, you won't be able to leave your front door. All right. So what do you make of this? Is this a sign of the future, which we all know it is quite likely going to be? Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't think, from the time that this vaccine has come out, and all over they've been pushing get the vaccine, I think that we have been on this road, and we are going to see more and more businesses, I believe, adopt this kind of policy where your employment is going to be hinged onto whether or not you take this vaccination. Fundamentally, I always have an issue when I feel backed into a corner or threatened. And it's interesting that Mr. Scott used those types of words in his response, when in actuality, that's kind of what you're doing to your staff, right? You're hanging their employment over their heads if they don't get vaccinated. I'm not advocating one way or the other. I just always have an issue with you have to or else.
Hey, but people have been dealing with these type things for years. You know you need to get your booster shots and others if you're going off to college. You know if you're going to certain parts of the world, Africa, I think some parts of South America, you're going to have to get certain vaccines to go there.
Absolutely.
So that happens. Why is it different here? What's the difference?
It does happen. My other, like I said, I think this is going to be the way of the world. Eventually, we're going to see this. It's going to come down to whether you are vaccinated or not. Maybe more Bahamians will be inclined to when they hear that if you aren't vaccinated, you can't travel. But we're going to see this happening. This is the kind of language that we've been working towards. No surprise. My other concern is he's given his staff, I think, until June.
Yeah, June 30th.
Well, right now, we're facing, Powers said that there is a shortage.
Yeah, that might be a little too short. Yeah.
So, and they're pausing vaccination in New Providence as of Saturday. So, and I guess, to kind of look at what we have, does it make sense if we continue to vaccinate, or should we reserve these for the people who've already taken their first dose? So the timeline that he's given may be a problem, not because employees do not want to comply, but because they may not have the availability, to be it, or they, the vaccination may not be available to them due to this shortage that is being experienced worldwide.
Yeah.
For those who are taking the AstraZeneca.
All right.
So then what does that mean? What do you do then? Does that mean that I go ahead and get on a plane, try to go to the US and get it done that way? Additional expense. What do I do? What do I do if they said we're holding?
That's a good question. I think he's going to have to adjust that timeline.
Yeah.
In the business section of the National Guardian today, the National Tripartite Council is talking about this, is saying they are going to discuss mandatory vaccines in the workplace. Peter Gowdy, who is he's the deputy chair of the National Tripartite Council. He says he hopes these companies are getting legal opinions and doctors' opinions on this, if they want to go in that direction. This is going to be very tricky. This is going to be very, very tricky. Again, especially if you put in timeline requirements like that. That is not going to be fair, I'm sure, to a lot of people.
Like you said, those timelines may have to be adjusted based on what's going on here.
Yeah. All right, so let's hear. The phone lines are lit up. The text line is lit up. People have a lot to say on this. No surprise. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. You might have some problems getting in this morning because the lines are lit up. But you can text us 422-4796 and tweet us at morningblend969 or facebook.com/morningblend969. Let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Hi, good morning.
Ms. Gardner.
Good morning.
Yeah.
We can barely hear you. Can you? Barely?
Dwight, you can hear me now?
Yeah, that's much better. Yeah.
Yeah, Ms. Gardner and Dwight. Yeah. I'm one who was also expecting something like this, but to hear something, to hear Mr. Scott, a person like Mr. Scott, is his character, and he come out and suggest this mandatory vaccination, right? I believe that is gonna explode in this country, because if the government or the authorities don't speak on that right away, we can see a lot of Bahamian people unemployed because they have to be threatened to take on a vaccination that it was said from the time of this vaccination that nobody is going to be forced to take a vaccination. But here we have a QC what is telling his staff, giving them a mandate, a time in order for them to have this vaccination, right? And I mean, much Negroes is eat sushi, so he ain't gonna be affected.
That is absolutely not true.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree with you about that because people. I personally don't eat sushi, but I have many people like me who eat sushi.
Only black people in there. You will never go to the sushi bar in this country and see only black people in there.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true. There's a couple places where, let's not go there. But
but I understand your point.
Yeah, but it's really scary, right? Because I hope somebody in authority could come out and in support of their statements they was making prior to Michael Scott's, right? Because that's scary. We are already in crisis now, finding jobs and don't have no jobs, and now the ones who do have to be threatened to keep theirs. That's scary. You guys have a nice day. A wonderful show all the time.
All right. Thank you very much. Boy. Let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Mr. Strachan, how are you doing, sir?
Doing well. Good morning.
Scott, how are you doing?
Good morning.
I mean, Mr. Strachan, with all due respect, you're entertaining this racist piece of garbage, Michael Scott. Michael Scott is garbage.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
Boy.
Are we going to talk to the issue or?
No, he never does. Okay. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us. This text here, these people are real bullies, but the vaccine doesn't stop you from contracting COVID-19 or passing it on to others. And and why are these people saying that countries will demand it? We will cross that bridge when we get there. So why are they acting like that's the case now? Well, okay, all right, I hear you.
Maybe he's decided that he wants to be ahead of it rather than, us. We're more reactive than proactive. And instead of if this does happen, which, like I said, that's the way that we seem to be going, rather than having to scramble then at the time to get it done.
Yeah. Here's another text. Fire me and I'll sue. It ain't about employees. It's about money. Okay. What are your thoughts, Dwight, on the vax or no job policy? Does it sound like the mark of the beast to you? What now? what now? Can't buy, sell, or work without the vaccine.
Dwight, what are your thoughts?
The only part I can answer there, well, Mark of the Beast, seriously? What's happening? This again. And plus, didn't you hear our wonderful Christian counsel say they have proven that it's not linked to the Mark of the Beast? Is that not enough proof for you? Please, people, please, just stop. But Mark of the Beast. All right. Non-essential business needs to be careful how they mandate people being vaccinated. Maybe they will end up with no customers. Well, yeah, has he mentioned that? Will you need to be vaccinated to enter, to be a customer? Because what about that?
Right.
We'll wait to hear, Michael Scott. Are you going to do that? That's a good question. Okay, this one here, Mr. Scott needs to offer his employees a yearly contract to ensure staff employment. If not, it's a threat to staff, which is a breach of the Employment Act. So he has set himself up publicly for court action against him. Okay, that's interesting. Requiring staff to be vaccinated as a way of protection is not logical because it doesn't prevent you from getting or spreading COVID-19. It prevents you from grave illness. On the other hand, the government has created a loophole with their suspension of certain Employment Act portions for the duration of the state of emergency. Companies can now leave them furloughed indefinitely if they choose and say it's because they don't need them. A hotel, restaurant, and another business are also asking these requirements from their staff. There were some things circulating yesterday. Yeah, it does seem like there's going to be a few more of these.
Yeah. I think that, everybody was waiting for one person just to say it, that way. They've probably been discussing it, and they were just waiting for whomever that first person was going to be to just come out and say it. And now that Mr. Scott has said it, or representatives from Mr. Scott have said it, I think that we're going to find more and more people or owners kind of drawing that line in the sand.
Oh, boy. Let's take these calls. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning, Dwight.
Hi, good morning.
And good morning to caller Lady Gardner, and good morning to those who wake up in the land of the living. Mr. Strachan, what is so funny about this is that, this rampant rage and the vaccine is coming and we got to administrate the vaccine, the first dose. Now, all of a sudden, it's come to basically a halt until, Saturday or whatever. So I try to figure out, what about the people who already got vaccinated? Did they receive their second dose of it?
It's too early.
Because
it's supposed to wait a few weeks. It's too early.
Okay.
And I think that's
now watch this, Dwight.
That's one of the reasons that they are pausing, because there is a shortage. And so I guess they want to make a determination, should we continue to still give out the first dose, or should we wait and reserve these for the people who've already gotten the first dosage?
Right, exactly.
Why should they wait? Why to wait now? What happens to the vaccines? What if right now, what if I say, well, Mr. Strachan, I'm gonna take the chance because I want to travel, I want to live a life. Right, I want to go take the vaccine, but now if I go take, they don't have it. What should I do? Should I stay unemployed?
Don't get ahead of yourself. Don't get ahead of yourself. That's what we're talking about now, right? So,
right.
I don't think people like Michael Scott will be able to enforce this if there are shortages.
Right, and that's what we were saying.
Right. So I'm sure the government will step in, the Ministry of Labor, Department of Labor will step in and say, hey, you can't have that hard and fast rule if we don't have enough vaccines for people.
But Dwight, with the greatest respect, right, when you have these people in this country that own these companies or businesses, and the news reporters are asked for an interview, sometimes when Dave called the talk show, and I'm not speaking for Dave in particular, but Dave might say what he say, right? But Dwight, in reality of it, right, when you get these people who own these businesses, they giving worse comments. Dave might say call names, but Dwight, when you dissect things like what Mr. Scott say, and you as a Bahamian,
well, that's for you to interpret. That's for you to interpret. That's right. So You hear, we play it, we read
Yeah,
it to
I
you.
understand.
and
Dwight, I
that's for
respect
you.
what you're saying, you know,
Right.
but what I'm saying, I can only interpretate
Yes.
or read something what is in the papers or what you report.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So,
All right.
Okay. So
Thanks, brother.
You hear it. Yep. You hear it. You see it. You decide what's going on there. Yeah. Okay. Let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Caller, good morning.
Good morning, Dwight.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Dwight. Good morning, guest.
Good morning.
Hey, Dwight, you know something? You know, I am a real, true patriotic being, and I love my country and I love all my people. You know, if we don't learn from the Hurricane Dorian and all these things, we never going to learn. See, the problem with killing the beam, our country, you got a lot of people always like the pen on I know. What we need is all our educated people come back home. The scientists, we had a nice young lady being on tape show, a real behemoth, you know, a scientist. We need to get our people home. See, every country in the world looking out for their people, you know.
They're going to say, what are they coming back for?
Right.
No, but see, right, we need all hands on that so that we can fix this country, man.
Okay.
See, this Moses who got this country messed with.
You know what happens? You see what happens to the professionals here? They are lambasted and their names are dragged through the mud. You start associating them with the devil and all kinds of things. Why would somebody come back for that?
Right, we got to be strong. Right? See, at the end of the day, we all behemoths, right? See, everybody can't keep leaving and leaving. See, that's the problem we got right now. And then the other people coming in and doing wrong things. I don't like what Mr. Scott said, you know. He's not the prime minister. That's wrong what he's saying. But see, our people need to stand up and start rebelling, man. They need to start fighting. Stop being more murderous, man. Stand up in humans. Then take my God.
Okay. Well, I see you all are trying to cause trouble today. Should I read this? Please read my text. That's how it starts. It's not derogatory, but only ghetto people don't eat sushi. Oh my gosh.
Well, you know what, Dwight? Then I guess I'm ghetto because I do not eat sushi.
Oh boy.
I think we needed that little bit of levity right there.
Oh,
I think we needed that. But what I want to say is, let's not take this in another direction.
Yeah, please.
Let's not take this in another direction.
Yeah, this isn't a race issue or class issue. Mm-hmm.
I believe, as I've said, that other people will be doing the same. And it may not just, so let's not go in that direction.
Yes, it's unfortunate that this is the first company to say it, but others are many others. And they're going to require it.
We just wait for one.
Yeah. They're going to require it for customers. They're going to require it. When you want to go out for Mother's Day, you may have to show, all right, that you and everybody in your party. They may do this. This could be the future, right?
It very well could be. It may not be right now because at this point, that people are just happy that you're coming into their restaurants to dine, right?
Plus,
So
very few
people are
have
happy about that.
Very few have actually had the vaccine as well. Yeah, right.
Right. So, but we really have to look at this because this is being pushed all over the world, not just here in the Bahamas. I know sometimes we like to think that we just exist in a bubble, but we don't. And so, like I said, fundamentally, I always have an issue when people, tell me you have to, but it's what we're seeing.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, let's take some more calls. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning.
Hi.
Morning to you and your guest.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just have, you may be able to answer, you may not, but it's a question that I'd like to plant in the minds of the Bahamian people as well. I watched a news clip on NBC on the 12th saying that the, AstraZeneca vaccine was not approved for use in the U.S.
That's right.
So if that is correct, why is it being given to us?
Because it's approved by the World Health Organization, and we are not a part of the United States of America.
Right.
I know we're not, but we're all a part of this very same pandemic.
Yes,
The
and
very
the
same
world...
COVID, we're all catching the same thing, according to them.
Right. The World
So
Health
I'm
Organization has approved it.
I'm sorry?
The World Health Organization has approved it.
They've approved it for who?
For everybody.
For all of the undeveloping countries.
And Europe and Canada and Australia. So it's a lot of different countries.
Right.
So is there a reason why the U.S. hasn't approved it for their people?
Going testing and trials now.
So this is what confuses me. Because and correct me if I'm wrong. As far as I understand, with any new drug that's being created, it goes through a testing period. I don't know. I think it's like 3 years or something like that.
Some can be faster.
So here it is. I do understand that the level of the pandemic and so forth and so on.
Before you go on, let me just say, the 3 that have been approved for the U.S. are all from American companies. AstraZeneca is a European company, a British company, right? Swedish, British, right? So that's very key.
Right.
Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson are American companies.
And also, none of those vaccines have gone through the typical testing trial, which is usually about 3 years. None of them, right? Because if you think about it, the world really started experiencing COVID, last year? And into the year before that. And now here it is, we have all of these vaccines. So none of the vaccines have gone through.
But as they've been saying, it's so similar to the previous SARS virus, and what was used to treat that gave a jump start to where we are today.
And then also consider Johnson & Johnson, which was approved by the U.S. They have now paused on that because of blood clots. So they haven't really said it's related. They can't say definitively that.
And that is my problem right there.
But
they can't say definitively one way or the other, but yet we're forcing these vaccines on the general public.
But the numbers are still very, very small.
My concern is this. Country, we have a handful of people. Our first responders are a handful of people. Everybody's going through the same crisis, so nobody really have extra people to send if there's a major crisis. My thing is this. With them not being able to say definitively one way or the other what the side effects are, how soon, how long, because we might be fine, okay, first year. When you look, how do you know in the next second year, 2 years, 3 years, all kind of people start having all kind of symptoms, side effects and whatnot, that our first responders can't deal with, that our hospitals and whatnot can't deal with, then what? My thing with, like you get, what your host said in terms of, I have a problem with people saying, I have to do something one way or the other, especially when you can give me the information definitively one way or the other. You see what I'm saying? We're doing all of this social distancing and we're doing the thing and so forth and so on. Okay, if you're telling me that within itself doesn't work, because I'll be very honest, I can only speak for myself. As a person, I don't get sick. I haven't had the flu or a cold in 10 or 15 years. You see what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I think it boils down to your own hygiene habits, what you do, how you do, and which you should, sanitize and keep yourself clean and your surroundings clean and so forth and so on a regular basis. It shouldn't have to be something to this degree. So now telling me that I have to go and vaccine just to be able to come into the store to eat, to be able to work, it sounds as if like you're trying to stifle my livelihood. You're trying to stifle my life. So just personally for me, Bahamian people, I think you just need to really sit and think about what it is that this country as a whole, in the entire world, what it is that they're heading towards, what it is that they're trying to do to us.
It's the whole
That's
world.
what I'm saying, the entire world. But I'm just speaking first to my Bahamian people because that's where I am.
All right, let me ask you a question.
Even though all of us are going through the same thing.
Yeah.
I feel just like this whole thing is just going towards just taking away your liberal rights to do what it is that you want to do.
You started off talking about the U.S. and the FDA. So will that make a difference to you if AstraZeneca does get FDA approval?
No, it doesn't make a difference. But the point that I was making by bringing that up was that with a lot of other things that I've noticed, it's things that are pushed. Okay, for example, you have certain products, right, that are, say, for example, cereal that are produced. If you look on the box, for export only, right? Now, my thing is this. If I'm making something that is so good and nutritious and high in value and quality, why would I only want to send? Why would it not be good enough for my people first? And then, of course, let me give the benefit to the rest of the world that would want to experience this good thing that I have.
Well, they do
I'm
that.
looking at the underlying messages.
Okay.
That's what I'm looking at.
Okay.
You see?
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. We appreciate your comments. All right. Let's take a couple more calls before we take a break. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Morning, Dwight.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Gardner.
Hi.
Good morning.
Though I understand the lady's narrative, but her point is that it doesn't concern in this area because the individuals that manufacture this vaccine, which is
Sorry,
Europe.
can you turn on your radio for us a bit? We're hearing that.
Turn on the radio, please.
Yeah. All right.
The individuals that manufacture this vaccine is Europe, and they are using that vaccine on their population. That narrative of this dump into undeveloped nations, it doesn't actually hold water. Now, what I would ask you, Dwight, to do for the general public is, can you interview someone from the Labour Board in regards to the comments made by Mr. Scott?
Yeah,
I don't
definitely.
understand the legality in regards to demanding that your employees get vaccinated, especially if the vaccine doesn't stop you from contracting the virus. Doesn't he mention something about trying to protect his employees from contracting the virus? It doesn't make sense at all in that narrative. So I would ask you, any other talk show host, to interview someone from the Labour Board about the legality in regards to him making those kind of statements.
Sure, definitely. And thank you. And like I said, we need to know if he's going to have that policy for his customers too, because he's going to be putting his employees in jeopardy, allowing people who aren't vaccinated, since you have this hard and fast rule, maybe they all need to be vaccinated to come in there. Is that how you're going to go?
Right.
Another call here. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Good morning, caller. Hi, good morning. You're on Morning Blend.
Morning, Dwight.
Hi.
How you guys doing this morning?
Doing well.
Morning.
Just monitoring your show on, on this whole vaccine. The thing is, we live in a society with laws and organized society, and in developing nations comes increased risk of diseases and food allergies and all these stuff that plays a role, and you want to be a voice for what happens. So people got to realize that we have a COVID-19, this particular pandemic that is worldwide, and they're trying to do everything to try to get us back to some sense of normal. People against vaccinations, maybe so, but at the end of the day, just 6 months ago, we had, where we had to go into lockdown, where the healthcare system was, basically near being crashed, borders closed, and all this type of stuff, People forget that. People forget that you couldn't find a bed in the hospital,
Yep.
So, at the end of the day, the vaccination isn't the cure. It is to ease probably some of the burden to that people wouldn't be hospitalized, and it's a small number of side effects maybe, but it does not outweigh the issues we had, we have to make a decision on what we want as in terms of people we want now, and I see a lot of people lining up beyond the talks that we're having now. People are getting vaccinated, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
People are concerned, and people want to get back to some sense of normalcy, and I don't, and we as a country, as a people, we've been vaccinated. Certain places in the world, go if you don't have second shots. People can't come to the Bahamas if they don't have second shots. They wouldn't be allowed to come here. So I don't think it's fair sometimes to run on about, hey man, this a world thingy, and maybe so, right? But this is the world we live in, and we have to protect our nation. That's the utmost. We have to protect our nation so that we can survive the stigma.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, let's read a few more messages before we take a break here. It says this vaccine is different from the ones we would have received in the past because this one has been approved for emergency use only. This vaccine does not prevent you from getting or spreading the virus. So how are you really keeping others safe? Mm-hmm. There's been no long-term studies on it. People reporting adverse effects daily. What happened to my body, my choice? Pure discrimination. Oh, now you know my body, my choice. Okay. Well, okay, yeah. Oh, I hear you. It's still the case. We'll see. There will be legal challenges to what we're talking about today, I'm sure. This one says, I hear the QC and his demands. However, with all that's going on with the uncertainty with the vaccines and the delays that's occurring now, how can those demands be made for a minimum wage job? Now you're jumping to a lot of conclusions there. God forbids if there are negative symptoms, are these employees covered under any health care? Well, that's a good question. That's a good question as well. Many people don't like the tone of the language Scott used. This one says here, I spoke to a friend in Barbados and all testing is free. The government needs to make testing free in the Bahamas. Yes, people have been saying that for
we've been saying that.
A long time.
Have been saying that.
Yep. Another one, whatever. Oh, that man is out of his mind to demand people take the shot or be fired. I hope these employees reject this and push back. The labor board needs to speak to this. Whatever happened to a nice letter to the staff encouraging them to take the shot?
Right. It isn't, I don't want to say the wrong hotel, but there's a hotel that their incentive is to give their employees, half-day pay? Which hotel is that?
I'm not sure, but there was also, I think there was a monetary.
Right. There's one of them they're giving.
Bahamar was doing that. Yep.
Right. Mm-hmm. That if you go ahead and you take it, they compensate you somehow for taking it.
Yeah. This one here. The difference, first of all, is mRNA, which has never been given to humans, so no one knows what the long-term... Now, remember now that Pfizer, Moderna, that's what they are, but that's different. Right. Well, anyway, they're two different technologies here.
Technologies, right.
And
that's
the
being
AstraZeneca
used.
one is not the same as the Pfizer. With the Pfizer
Right.
and Moderna one using untested new technology. And so the AstraZeneca vaccine, which we have here, is not like those two. So just remember that. Okay. Which one is RNA and D? Okay. But this one says the plan was to shut down the economy, deplete people's finances, and make them desperate. This way they will take the vaccine. Also, Dwight, don't you know the Bible says you won't be able to buy or sell without the mark of the beast? That sounds like we are heading. That's where we're heading with the vaccine. Okay. Another one. You and your guest are suggesting stuff not said by Ed Fields. His explanation didn't say shortage of authority supplies as reasons for pausing. They were appointed more than 3 months ago and they had the first dose. That's not what he said, but that's what some other...
I did say that Powell. I didn't say Ed Fields in the committee here. I said Powell said that there is a shortage and there have been delays.
And people are being told...
Vaccines.
Yes.
Vaccines to the various countries.
And people who are being vaccinated are also being told, right? That's what they're being told. I don't know who's telling them that, if they have the authority to tell them that, but that they may hold the rest to give these folks their second dose because
now,
they are uncertain about when those other ones will come.
The news said, in response to that, the news said that come Saturday, they're pausing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, at no point did I say that is what Ed Fields or anyone representing that committee in the Bahamas said. I'm just saying that they are pausing to take stock so that they can make a decision.
Mm-hmm. They go on to say, oh my goodness gracious. Another thing is he prepared to take on any medical or financial ramifications for any staff that's affected? Then there is the number code that speaks to forcing vaccine, or is it number code? Medical and science on any human that does not want it. Well, again, I don't know if there's a lot of things he's considered about this. And over the next few days, as the Tripartite Council said,
that he may end up having to soften his stance, backtrack.
Yeah.
We may find that.
Right, definitely.
He sent it out. It's become public knowledge, and we're now discussing it.
I know he's a very influential person with the current administration, but we'll see if they're going to stand up and say, well, hold your horses, buddy. You need to take this back a bit. We'll see. We'll continue to follow the story, of course. We're going to take a break and be back with more. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9.
Let's fight together. Everything will be all right. COVID-19, COVID-19, such a killing machine. COVID-19, COVID-19, an enemy that remains unseen. COVID-19, COVID-19.
We've got your first look at traffic for this morning, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. We've got heavy traffic on off Fire Trail Road on Sir Miles Butler Highway from Fire Trail all the way up to Tawny Williams Darling Highway. That's in the northbound lanes. Heavy traffic from Fire Trail up to Tawny Williams Darling Highway. Glaston Road looking a little bit better for you, but still busy the closer you get to JFK Drive in the northbound lane. Over on Blue Hill Road, already seeing the heavy traffic just north of Soldier Road in the northbound lanes heading towards Independence Drive, and Independence Drive also backed up westbound and towards that roundabout with Blue Hill Road. Carmichael Road building eastbound towards Blue Hill Road, and that stretch between Carmichael and St. Vincent Road on Blue Hill, you're going to be seeing heavy traffic there in the northbound lane. Elsewhere, some building traffic on Fox Hill Road northbound heading towards Prince Charles Drive, and along Prince Charles at the major intersections like Prince Charles and Beatrice Avenue and Prince Charles Soldier Road, Robinson Road intersection, and Old Trail Road near the junction with Robinson Road. Those are your hot spots this morning. So far, we'll have another real-time report for you after the 8 o'clock news. That's your Morning Blend Traffic Alert brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. And time for another check of your weather for today, brought to you by Rev Cable Bahamas. Here's what's happening. High pressure will continue to create pleasant weather conditions across the country through tonight. Beachgoers, though, should remain vigilant due to the slight risk of rip currents. For all areas today, your forecast calls for partly sunny to sunny and warm conditions with a stray shower possible today before turning mostly fair and mild tonight. 69 degrees right now under fair skies in Nassau. Look for highs getting up to around 82 Fahrenheit, 28 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to 66 Fahrenheit, 19 Celsius. In your extended outlook, weak ridging will continue to be the dominant weather feature across the area into the weekend. So for Friday tomorrow, look for partly sunny to sunny and warm conditions again, with a slight chance of a few showers. Saturday, partly sunny to sunny and warm, with a slight chance of a few showers. That pattern's going to hold for a few days until at least the start of next week. But that is your Morning Blend weather check, brought to you by Rev. Basketball fans, you got to sign up or upgrade to Rev Trio and enjoy NBA League Pass absolutely free. Call 601-8992 or email trio@cable. Sign up. Rev, you and us together.
Roaming just got easier. Say hello to more with our new Liberty Prime plan. With more minutes, more texts, and more data to do the things you love right here at home and even when you travel. With the all-new Liberty Prime, Liberty Premium, and Liberty Elite, you've got one less worry. Roam again. Alive. Believe in best.
Believe in best.
Basketball is back, baby, and so is NBA League Pass, only with Rev Trio. Sign up for Rev Trio today and enjoy NBA League Pass absolutely free, along with incredible prizes including a brand new 50-inch smart TV, NBA gear, and more.
With tons of prizes and gear, signing up for Trio is the best on- and off-court move this year. Just call 601-8992 or visit www.rev.bs/promotions/trio.
Sign up for Rev Trio today and enjoy NBA League Pass absolutely free.
There's only one way to have a better morning. How? Start your mornings the best way with our 2 for $6 breakfast sandwiches at Wendy's. For a limited time, choose any 2 of your favorite breakfast sandwiches, including the fresh Strachan sack muffin, honey buttermilk chicken biscuit, double sausage muffin, or the sausage egg and cheese biscuit. Wash it all down with our cold brew shake or coffee. Better mornings always start at Wendy's. Wendy's, different inside and out. Excludes airport locations.
My beautiful eyes. I tell you, if the good Lord never goes on holiday, tell me why he made the Bahamas. If the good Lord never used to come this way, tell me why he made these islands. All the sun, all the
We are back with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Laverne Gardner. We've got a lot of your text messages. We're going to try to get to those a little bit later in the show, but we want to change gears right now. We've been talking about this for the past few weeks, and over the past few days, it's intensified with some action in Abaco over the last few days. And so the Shantytown dilemma, that issue heating up again, especially now the trial has resumed about what to do with the injunction on the order to demolish the structures as well. So we're going to continue that today. We've got a special guest, activist Luby Georges, here with us this morning. Good morning, Luby. Welcome back to the show. It's been a while.
Morning, Dwight. Good morning, Laverne. How you guys doing? Such a great
Good morning.
and privilege to be back on. Truly, it's been a while. And good morning, Bahamas.
Luby, before you get started, can you pronounce your last name? Because I've heard it as George, I've heard it as Georges. How do you pronounce it?
You know, at this point, I just allow people to, do whatever is easier for them. But, it is George.
Thank you.
And George's is the anglicized version of it.
Anglicized version would be George's.
Yeah. So that's
okay.
So there you go. That's why I call him Luby George. But anyway, all right. So we want to talk about it. You shared some interesting views in the press this week, but I know that you heard some of the conversations on the show over the past couple of days, and you apparently attempted to call in. But let's get that out of the way first. What you wanted to respond to some of the callers? Your name came up quite a bit. Let's get to that, and then we'll get to discussing the Shantytown dilemma.
Yeah, and it is still in regards to that, so same topic anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But in listening to the show, which I do every morning.
Thank you very much.
I heard a few of your callers, Dwight and a few others, continuously calling my name as if I'm encouraging persons to continue to reside in shanty towns or encouraging persons to go out and to build shanty towns. Calling my name as if I'm a lawyer, as if I'm representing these individuals, in court or otherwise. I'm not a lawyer, so I just wanted to clear that up. Like, why? And also, wanted to put this out there. It's been almost 2 years now, and I've stated this publicly, that I'm not a part of Rights Bahamas. So whatever press statements that Rights Bahamas issues, when it comes from the president or, from the legal director, whomever, it is not a reflection of my views because, again, nearly 2 years now, I've not been a part of the organization.
Okay. All right. So what do you make of what's happening here? So many different things going on. We've got the most recent action with the farm, but also in general, the government's plan and the order to stop it, the injunction that was filed to stop that. Let's talk about it all and where you stand on this matter.
Well, my position, I've expressed publicly in English and in Haitian Creole, and I've been doing so for a number of years. And it goes back as far as my time as a talk show host on Guardian Radio. What I would do is, explain to or have open conversations with the Haitian community, obviously in Haitian Creole, and doing it in English, would be defeating the purpose, in my opinion, because, maybe the majority, everyone speaks Haitian Creole, and we do not know how many fully understands and has a grasp of the English language. So I would speak to them in their native tongue, Haitian Creole. And I would compare, Dwight, the persons residing in the shanty towns at times to my parents. My parents came to the Bahamas, with nothing. My parents came to the Bahamas with little to no education, didn't come to the auntie, an uncle, a mother or father or someone, who's doing well, waiting on them. And so they came and were in the exact same or the exact, position, whereas economically, you're looking for a job, you don't have it. But nonetheless, they worked. And I'm grateful today that my parents are permanent residents of the Bahamas. And they have never lived in such conditions. So if they didn't do it, they didn't have to do it, what's the difference? Why do you have to, subject yourself to residing in a shanty town? And we know that a lot of persons are actually employed who are living in these shanty towns, especially here in Nassau. Like, for me, there's almost no excuse for the person who is employed in Nassau to continue to residing in a shanty town. But Abaco is it's just a different kettle of fish. Completely different kettle of fish. And C. Allen Johnson, a few days ago, or maybe last week, eloquently, touched on it. And I think we need to have more conversations nationally on the housing crisis that exists in this country. And Abaco is the prime example, prime example. And, I was having a conversation yesterday with some people, and I said to them, all right, the housing crisis, that is the crux of the matter. We say, and I've asked the question, where did the people go after, the demolition of their homes? Because we would be essentially doing the same thing Hurricane Dorian did, which is displace people. Do we have a contingency plan in place? We're not hearing that. That is the issue, Dwight. We're not hearing the plan that includes what happens after the homes are demolished, regardless of a person's immigration status. And in fact, if we want to talk about status, the government itself in 2018 issued a shantytown report led by then Shantytown Task Force, which was tied to the Department of Labor or the Ministry of Labor. And that report revealed that the overwhelming majority of persons residing in these areas were actual legal residents of the Bahamas, citizens, permanent residency holders, and otherwise. All right. So, but just to engage the individuals and say, well, then they just go home. Okay, cool. Well, if we decided today, Dwight, to repatriate every single Haitian, legal or otherwise, out of, if we decided to say replace every single migrant out of Abaco with a behavior
all right, we're going to pick that up. We're going to pick that up, Luby, right after the news. Stay with us. Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We're streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at Morning Blend 969 or Facebook.com/Morning Blend 969. Text us 422-4796. And now at 8:21, it's time for another check of your weather for today, brought to you by Bahamas First Insurance. Here's what's happening. We've got a high-pressure ridge that will continue to create pleasant weather conditions across the islands through tonight and for the next few days. Beachgoers, though, should remain alert due to the slight risk of rip currents today. For all areas, we're looking at partly sunny to sunny and warm conditions with a few stray showers possible, becoming mostly fair and mild tonight. Temperature-wise, look for highs getting up to around 82 Fahrenheit, 28 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to about 66 Fahrenheit, 19 Celsius. In your extended outlook, weak ridging will continue to be the dominant over the area into the weekend. So for Friday, look for partly sunny to sunny and warm conditions with a slight chance of a few light showers. Pretty much the same for Saturday as well. That's your Morning Blend weather check, brought to you by Bahamas First Insurance. What's first for you comes first for us. And at 8:22, time for another check of your traffic for this morning, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. We've got, as usual, in your real-time traffic, Smile Butler Highway, your hot spot this morning. Heavy traffic from south of Fire Trail, northbound, all the way up to Tonic Williams Darling Highway, the roundabout there. So that's heavy traffic, even backed up on Fire Trail a little bit as well this morning in Fire Trail eastbound. Glasson Road, pretty busy this morning as well. Northbound lane heading towards JFK Drive. At JFK Drive, seeing some heavy traffic as you approach that roundabout. So that's westbound on JFK and eastbound as well along Lake Cunningham, heading towards that roundabout with Glasson Road. Elsewhere, Blue Hill Road, northbound, just north of Soldier Road, the heavy traffic there as you approach Independence Drive, and Independence Drive westbound, also busy this morning towards that roundabout. Carmichael Road eastbound towards Blue Hill Road, heavy traffic there, and Blue Hill Road is busy from south of Carmichael to well south of St. Vincent Road, both directions, but mainly northbound at this hour. Elsewhere, Eastern Road, westbound, you're going to be seeing some heavy traffic just east of Foxhill Road till you get closer to Mont. And Foxhill Road, pretty heavy northbound heading towards Prince Charles Drive. Prince Charles Drive seeing some heavy traffic near the Seagrape Shopping Center as well. And just west of that as you get near Elizabeth Estates. Then further west, Prince Charles and Beatrice Avenue, and Prince Charles and Soldier Road and Robinson Road. And then Robinson as you get closer to Old Trail. Those are going to be your hot spots. And at that mall at Marathon intersection, East-West Highway, Robinson Road, Marathon Road. Expect some heavy traffic there too. So it's a busy morning out there on the streets. Take care and good luck to you this morning. That's your real-time traffic and your Morning Blend Traffic Alert, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank.
The best place to get a new iPhone is at BTC. Make the iPhone 12 mini yours for just $199. That's big savings to go with our sweet postpaid value of unlimited local calls, international minutes, roaming data and minutes, plus all the data you need. Stream, share, and stay connected on the best LTE network when you switch to BTC. Visit a store to sign up today and get the iPhone 12 mini for just $199. Conditions apply.
Roaming just got easier. Say hello to more with our new Liberty Prime plan. With more minutes, more texts, and more data to do the things you love right here at home and even when you travel. With the all-new Liberty Prime, Liberty Premium, and Liberty Elite, you've got one less worry. Roam again. Alive. Believe in best.
Believe in best.
Cash is what we have been using for generations, but it's no longer the only way to pay or receive money. That is great news for business owners. I'm Listening Director at RBC Royal Bank, encouraging you to find out how going cashless can benefit your business with faster transactions and settlements, better cash flow management, plus reduced risk of theft. Learn more at rbc.com/Caribbean/go cashless. RBC Royal Bank, banking reimagined.
Gran, it was good to see you, but we've got to get home.
Yep, we've got to let the dog out.
Speaking of dogs, you won't believe who I saw the other day.
Who?
Honey.
Remember Anton, Jeanette's oldest boy? The one with the dogs.
With local claims managers, we pay your motor claims fast. We're like a goodbye at your granny's that doesn't take 30 minutes.
We really got to get going.
So soon?
CG Atlantic Agents. Insurance, health, pensions, life. Good like that. Nassau Insurance Brokers and Agents Limited, trading as CG Atlantic Agents.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
And we are back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Laverne Gardner. We are talking with Louis Georges about the Shantytown dilemma. And so, Louis, what do you think are some of the misconceptions about shantytowns here and who's living in shantytowns and how it works, who owns the land, or if people are paying rent or leasing? Well, what exactly is going on and what needs to be cleared up so that we can all be on the same page here?
Well, based on my experience in speaking to residents of the shantytowns, Dwight, across the country, I've visited, had reason to visit or check out, shantytowns, Nassau, and you would find that the dynamics are different in the shantytowns. That might be the case here in Nassau, but for the most part, what I've found is that the individuals are actually paying rent. So there is some Bahamian individual who I would classify as a slumlord who is collecting rent from these people and making big bucks of these individuals, So it's not just the migrants themselves choosing to, because we've been saying, oh, you can't just come in the country and thief land and build how you want to build. Well, really and truly, they ain't really thieving land. Not in every case. In some cases, yeah, that they may be constructing on crown land, but for the most part, what I've found is that there is a Bahamian or a family of Bahamians who are receiving rent from these people, and it's high time, though, Dwight. It's high time that while we expose the migrants and their illegal activities that that they're continuously conducting, and we're taking them to court and they're being charged and all of these other things, and they're being placed before the public's eye and on the news and in the newspapers. Well, where are the slumlords? It's like, who's doing the investigations and trying to look into lands and survey or housing or whichever authorities registrar to find out who owns the land? Who's doing the investigations and speaking to these migrants, anonymously or, in a secured manner where they don't feel as if they would be victimized, and find out from them, who are you paying this rent to? So it's high time that we find out who are these Bahamians that are benefiting from the proliferation of shanty towns, eradicating or doing away with shanty towns in the country.
Right. So there is a mix. We've got private land, but we've also got crown land that's been leased to individuals. That's what we're noticing here. With the farm, the one that has gotten a lot of attention over the past few days, do you know what the situation is there exactly?
I think there may be some confusion in the public domain also, maybe on the part of the authorities. I'm not sure that the raid, or whatever you want to call it, the exercise operation that happened the other day was actually in the farm. That area was actually, it's two. There's farm and then there's farm road. That operation happened in the farm road area. Mm-hmm. The farm is something completely different, and it's called the farm for a reason, because it literally is or was a farm with someone, I think, someone from the United States that leased the land. And, if you go in the back there now, you can see heavy farming equipment still there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's two different areas, farm and farm road. They're like, 2-mile drive apart from each other.
All right. So as far as we know, rebuilding hasn't taken place in the farm, the one that was originally known as the farm.
I think rebuilding activities, or reconstruction activities happened there also.
Oh, really? Okay.
Just for clarity on the operation that happened, and make the distinction. There is farm and there is farm road, and the operation the other day happened in farm road. And I think that though is Crown land because the forest and all of that stuff. So I think that's Crown land and not leased by anyone,
as opposed to the farm, which is
right.
Which so did that exist before Dorian? Is that since Dorian? What do we know about that?
It did exist before Dorian.
Mm-hmm.
It did exist before Dorian, but at a much smaller level. But since Dorian, housing, again, go back to the main point here, the crux of the issue is the availability of housing or affordable housing in Abaco. Of course, we know the mud, the peas, all of that is gone. The people, in majority, are still around. Some, deported or repatriated, but in large parts, the majority are still around. And, we had persons residing in the Kindle Gym and then moved over to Bahamas Academy and then Point Sienna. And, the government was sheltering, migrants or persons affected, displaced persons by Hurricane Dorian for an extended period because there was nowhere for them to go back to in Abaco, but yet they were legal residents, women, men, children who didn't have anywhere to go in Abaco. But I was about to make a point before we went to the break, Dwight, which is, to satisfy, the people out there that are saying, well, they can just simply go back home or we can, repatriate or deport all of them. Okay. If we decide today, the government decides today to repatriate or to arrest and deport every single patient in Abaco or migrant in Abaco and send them to their home countries, we would still have an issue, which is housing. We would still have that issue. If we decided today that we wanted to replace every single migrant in Abaco with a Bahamian to do the jobs that they're doing right now, we would housing. Where would these people, these Bahamians, stay?
Right. Wow.
That's the issue. It doesn't now, and I'm not putting it out there in a way to justify illegal activities. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. And truth be told, I'm not here to say that I 100% agree with the position of Rights Bahamas also because there was a court order, there should not have been where the government was ordered to not demolish. And on the flip side of that, the migrants were ordered to not construct or build new structures. And so on both sides, we may see where some wrongdoings may have happened there. So I'm not here to encourage them or get into the legal battle. That's not my issue. My issue, again, is the national crisis of housing availability. That's the issue.
Yeah. It is a huge one. What do we do? What is happening? As you said, some of our callers have been talking about it. We've been talking about it, especially in light of what's being proposed for young professionals. People are saying, what about low end? What about on the low side, the low end of this debate?
And too, Dwight, if you think about it, and again, just speaking to Louis' point, okay, you demolish these shanty towns, you demolish here, but the people are still there. So what happens next? If there is a shortage of housing, then what is the next move for them? Do they just move someplace else and then build these same shanty towns again? just in a different location. And so you constantly have that cycle. Because root of it, there is a housing shortage.
Exactly, Laverne, and that is my position. That is the only thing that I'm trying to, bring forth in the public domain and add to the conversation is that question of what happens next with the persons that we would be essentially displacing and doing the exact same thing that Hurricane Dorian did. Like, we're not hearing anything. Maybe the government has a plan, I'm not saying that they don't have a plan. I'm not saying that they don't know what phase 1 and phase 2, phase 3, whatever phases are going to look like. What I'm saying is, as we discuss this nationally through social media, in the news, on talk shows like yours, we're not hearing anything from the authorities relating to the next steps or what the plan is for these people. How are they going to be relocated? Are we going to assist them in being relocated, or are they going to be left alone to fend for themselves? And then what's going to happen? Because again, as I stated earlier, a lot of these persons who are residing up north now in the Treasure Key area, because that's where the Farm Road, an hour drive away from Marsh Harbor, where the mud and the peas was, these are people who are living down there. So the mud and the peas, destroyed by Hurricane Dorian. They found some other, patches of, woods and crown land and went and did their illegal activities. Okay, good. So now the government comes in, demolish those. What's going to essentially happen? They probably, like Laverne said, they're probably going to find another patch of woods and build there. So what is the plan? Are we going to deport them, repatriate them? Okay, that may be a proposed solution by some people.
But that would only apply to a few people, right? Not all, right? That would only be an option.
Exactly, and still, that is the point, Dwight. Mm-hmm. It is not going to apply to all, and so you repatriate the ones that are here undocumented. But what about the permanent residents holder? What about the person whom is Bahamian citizen who's residing in these areas? What about the children who are on belongers permits and who have a legal right to be here? What about, we can't put the argument to say that the persons on work permits, that their employers are supposed to ensure that they have adequate or suitable housing made available to them. That part, you can argue there. But where is the housing going to come from? It's still the issue. So if we send all of them back and we take Bahamians and we put in Abaco to say, do the work, because we know Abaco's economy is booming. We know that there's lots of work to do, but where are these people going to stay? So we still do the housing crisis and the lack of a pronounced plan in the public domain as to what will happen to these people after we displace them and destroy them.
Now, we've been hearing stories about the few rental properties that are available and the exorbitant prices that landlords are charging there in Abaco. So, even for people who are making money, it's difficult there. So not just low-cost housing. But is this an opportunity for people who are landowners to really think about this and to offering to build apartments or something up there, and how there's likely, as you say, going to be a big boom up in Abaco?
Well, most definitely, Dwight, and while, the government proposed the, beautiful new subdivision, whatever it's going to be called, for persons, young professionals or young persons on minimum wage, I think we need to look at the same thing for the different family islands, and Abaco being one that I think should be high on the priority list, and not just because all migrants are living there, no, but because of the devastation left behind following Hurricane Dorian, and the fact that the majority of homes were destroyed. So we should look at it because the lack of anything presents an opportunity for someone, to come and do something. So housing. We need to have a national dialogue and come to the table and create a plan around housing and building properties that would be affordable. Because yes, as you stated, Dwight, listen, you listen, the prices for a home or to rent in Abaco, they are out of this world. You know, the person making minimum wage may not be able to afford rent as we speak in Abaco today. So again, we continually come back to the same issue, to the same problem. Yes, we have an immigration crisis and an immigration issue which needs to be dealt with, should be dealt with. I agree. But at the same time, let us talk about and seek to address the housing crisis that we have in Abaco. Housing is not available, but the labor force is necessary and is needed. We know that Abaco requires a certain threshold of human capital to conduct the work that needs to be done to get Abaco back to the point of where it was pre-Dorian and further. But yet, where are these people? Where is this labor force going to reside? When I say labor force, I'm not talking about migrants. I'm just talking about the fact that we need the work to be done by people, Bahamians or otherwise. But where are they going to live?
All right, we've got a lot of calls coming in and text messages. Let's hear what our listeners have to say. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Morning, Glenn. How are you?
Doing well.
Wonderful, sir. I'm listening to the show intently, and I'm understanding what the gentleman is saying. But I am a country, okay? It's a democracy, and I've got human feeling and empathy also. But how can I give all of this, okay? How can I make housing an issue for me as a country, okay? And as citizens, which are needs that first, okay? To look at the immigration problem that have been permeated by these people from the South, okay? How can I make that point? Can I go to Abaco and do this for them when I can look at Angleson, at St. Barnabas, at Centerville, okay? What's happening here is that these people have broken the law first by coming in the way they do. And also, too, it seems to be, it goes by stages, okay? And then they make you responsible for them. What they need to do is go to the United Nations. They know that there was a hurricane here. They know that the pandemic came here, too. Then ask them for assistance to maintain it. They do it inside Somalia, in Botswana, and other countries. Be decent about it. Right now, I can understand the people from St. Vincent taking a boatload every week and coming in this direction, but they don't have that culture to think that way or to invade people's property and then make the government and the people responsible for them. Okay? You need to go to the United Nations and get some stuff. I'm calling in from St. Barnabas, okay? In the inner city, okay? There's only so much of our country we can take. Thanks for letting me share.
Okay. Thank you very much. I hear you. Again, not everybody is going to be here legally in that group.
If I may, Dwight, I don't recall me saying that we should give priority to Abaco on behalf of the migrants. I'm saying we should give priority, some priority.
All right, having an issue there. Okay, well, while we get that together, let's take this call as well. Good morning.
To Abaco due to the fact that the brunt of what Dorian brought. That's what on behalf of development.
Yep. Okay. All right. Let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Caller. Good morning. Are you there? 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us 422-4796. We've got Luby back. Laverne. No? Do we lose them both? Okay. Let's take a break. Oh, you're there. Okay, you're both there. You're both there. Okay. All right. Cut out there for a second. Okay. Yeah. You didn't just say that. We've got a problem throughout the whole country. But this it's hard, and you see this keeps clouding the issue for a lot of people. The immigration matter is overshadowing everything, especially when we look at Abaco and I guess in some ways here in New Providence. Is it going to be possible for people to see this as two separate issues at all?
It should not be. I mean, why is it so difficult to see? That's the question. Why can't we, what about the Abaconians? People in Abaco right now, and I'm speaking about persons who probably not homeowners, but those who may be in Eleuthera or Abaco or Nassau or maybe still in the States, who lost their houses. Where are they? Are we engaging them on a national level and allowing Bahamians, to speak about the housing situation and what's still happening in Abaco? Maybe, it's hard for people who are not from Abaco or never visited Abaco to understand what's happening because we tend to have more discussed openly as opposed to other subjects like the housing crisis.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's take another call. Caller, good morning. Your Morning Blend. Good morning, caller. What's going on with the calls? Yep.
Hello?
Oh, there we go. Hi, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Dwight. What's up?
Hi.
I called back again, right? I need to set the record straight with Mr. Georges and other people. I love my Haitian people. All right? Listen to me. Let me say it again. As long as you come in this country that I was born, that my navel string is in, and you come in here the legal way, and you obtain your status, I am with you. But if you come here illegally, how could I support that? So I just want to clarify that. And also, Mr. Strachan, what is really, I am here right now in a business establishment where I work. And a Haitian is here who is legal. And he's listening to Mr. Georges saying that he is not a part of Rights Bahamas. Right? But it's so funny about this is that you find anytime it comes to, in particular, migrants of Haitian culture, you find three persons in this country are very adamant to speak out. But when the name that they carry, Rights Bahamas, when Bahamians, right, who live in a country who's being victimized, who's being kicked off jobs, people are being innocently killed by the hands of, in some cases, law enforcement. You don't hear Rights Bahamas, Mr. Strachan and Ms. Gardner. You don't hear Rights Bahamas. But anytime it's migrants, you hear this gentleman on the radio, you hear Ms. Stephanie, and you hear Mr. Fred Smith. I am trying to figure out, why don't you guys, or you people, go to Haiti? That's in the Bahamas, and I want Bahamian people to understand that. Because if I take a boat right now, and I grab all of my family and my friends, and I decide to sail down the southern coast and get into Haiti, how could I go there? Whether someone lease me the land or rent me the land and build a whole community. See, the problem in the Bahamas, Mr. Georges, you all need to go, like the gentleman said with the UN, you all need to go to Haiti and talk to the president. I think the prime minister just resigned or whatever. Talk to them people. Because if you stop the problem there, we wouldn't have the problem in the Bahamas. You all have a good day, Mr. Strachan.
All right. Louis, you want to respond to that before we take a break?
Well, quickly, he made a good point about the issue or the root causes of the issue, and the root causes of the issue stem from Haiti. And I totally agree. There are push and pull factors regarding migration, and the push factor from Haiti is the lack of jobs and lack of opportunities, and the pull factor for the Bahamas, which is pulling the migrants towards here, is opportunities, just like the United States. So I definitely agree with him there. And also Dwight, I don't own news stations and I don't own radio stations. So if I'm called and invited to do an interview or be part of something, then, don't say that we're always in the media doing this and doing that. It's an invitation and you're invited for a particular reason. So wanted to put that there.
Yeah. All right.
And yes, I'm not a part of Rights Bahamas.
Right. Let's take a break. When we come back, let's see if we can come up with some solutions, other solutions than what we've spoken about before on this issue. We're talking about the shantytown dilemma, the low-cost housing dilemma in the Bahamas today. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Stay with us.
Wake up.
Paradise Island is the best kept secret in the Bahamas. Located directly next door to the Atlantis Resort, you'll receive all the privileges of an Atlantis guest with all the benefits of a comfort suite stay. Enjoy everything Atlantis has to offer, including Aquaventure Water Park, plus all the amenities of comfort suites. Free Wi-Fi, free breakfast daily, and kids stay, play, and eat free. Visit ComfortSuitesPI.com.
Gran, it was good to see you, but we've got to get home.
Yep, we've got to let the dog out.
Speaking of dogs, you won't believe who I saw the other day.
Who?
Honey.
Remember Anton, Jeanette's oldest boy, the one with the dogs?
With local claims managers, we pay your motor claims fast. We're like a goodbye at your granny's that doesn't take 30 minutes.
We really got to get going.
So soon?
CG Atlantic Agents. Insurance, health, pensions, life. Good like that. Nassau Insurance Brokers and Agents Limited, trading as CG Atlantic Agents.
Wake up. It's a new day.
Stay a step ahead of technology with certainty and support from Custom Computers. Our know-how team is here to help you zero in on your next big tech purchase, finding solutions that take your products level using only the best and most reliable brands. With 4 stores all across Nassau on East Bay, West Bay, Old Fort Bay, and Palmdale, there's no stopping you from stepping up your tech. Reach out to us at 396-1100. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
You invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAL, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAL. Growing wealth for future generations.
Cash is what we have been using for generations, but it's no longer the only way to pay or receive money. That is great news for business owners. I'm Lasanya Mizik, Managing Director at RBC Royal Bank, encouraging you to find out how going cashless can benefit your business with faster transactions and settlements, better cash flow management, plus reduce risk of theft. Learn more at rbc.com/Caribbean/go cashless. RBC Royal Bank. Banking reimagined.
Meet Jackie. Jackie's a hard worker with a steady income, but she has a personal loan and multiple credit cards to pay off. To keep her account current, Jackie opted for a loan from Fidelity Bank to consolidate her debt into one monthly payment and earn interest on a built-in savings account. Be like Jackie. Call 356-7764 to book a complimentary financial coaching session. Fidelity also offers virtual assistance. We're good for you.
Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Street, has those hard-to-find fasteners for you right now. You can find stainless steel regular hex, carriage bolts, galvanized bolts, threaded rods, nails, self-tap screws, sex bolts, anchor bolts, turnbuckles, masonry tools, hand tools, and weed whacker strings. Check out the rope selection and car body fasteners too. Special orders are welcome. It's your #1 fastener store. Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Streets. Call 326-1976.
Wake up. It's a new day. Wake up. It's a new day.
Oh, yeah! All right. My beautiful islands. I tell you, if the good Lord never goes on holiday, tell me why he made the Bahamas.
We're back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Laverne Gardner. We are talking with activist Luby George about the shantytown dilemma, the low-cost housing dilemma in Abaco and everywhere in the country. But again, people, as we have seen, as we know, many of the people in these shanty towns are not just illegal migrants. They are people who have status in this country. Some of them are citizens. Some of them have work permits. It's a complex matter, right? It's not just illegal migrants. We have to look at that and consider that carefully. Now, here's a text we got yesterday. We didn't have time to read this yesterday, but I think this is very interesting. People need to pay attention. The person said, I'm in a situation where Bahamians are occupying my property without permission, but I can't just go and have them arrested. I can't go and demolish their structure. I have to take my hard-earned money and fight them in court. Land issues are not as easily dealt with as people are implying with their comments. And I think that still applies to what we're talking about today, right? But it's a lot of different people doing different things all over. Yes, we're talking about shantytown specifically today, but this is a big problem in this country. A lot of this, some of these people are not authorized to be there or wherever they are, and some are. Some are, as Luby said, paying rent to slumlords. This is a complex matter, a lot going on. But as Yep.
I agree with you, Dwight. And I think, a lot of times our feelings, our personal biases and feelings sometimes cloud the issue. And so it isn't just like you said, that we're not saying that there aren't illegal migrants in shantytowns, but they're not the only ones, right? And then there are some people who have the property who are aware that there are people living on their property and they have decided to monetize, to capitalize on that. And these communities are not regulated. Yeah. And so we have to get to the root of this thing. Destroying the homes is one thing, but is that really addressing the bigger issue? And that's my concern. Is that really addressing the bigger issue? Because as I said, you knock down one, you demolish it. Well, maybe I'll just go further into the bushes. Maybe I'll go further in, or I'll move someplace else. And so these communities pop up again. And so we really have to find a way to address issue, to address, yes, of course, immigration issues, but how do we do that? How can we go about addressing these issues and coming up with a workable solution for people who are here legally?
Right. Luby, we'll allow you to have the final word, but I just want to read a few of these messages. We've been asking people for solutions to the multiple issues here. Somebody says here, can we get an objective analysis of why housing costs what it does? Cost of money, labor, materials, the profit motive. Some of us will never own homes and are better off renting indefinitely. We can influence the costs of labor and of capital by ensuring that every young man leaving high school knows how to build a house. Okay, that's interesting. Another one here. This is not going to be an overnight fix. Foreign affairs reps have been going to Haiti forever and ain't nothing improved. The government should have invested about $3 million and rebuilt some homes in Abaco to avoid people who want to return to have somewhere decent to live. This is not a quick overnight fix. Instead, we want to develop high-end properties for a select few while the masses still suffer. Okay, well, and okay, can't read that one. Luby, what about you? What do you say? What should be the way forward to address what's happening?
I want to piggyback off Vern again. Great contributions there, and she hit the nail on the head. What we need to do is first acknowledge that we have a housing crisis. If we don't acknowledge that we have a housing crisis, if our leaders themselves are not going to Parliament and not doing interviews and acknowledge that, then we're not going to go in the right direction. Because as we've stated, tirelessly here, not everyone living in the shantytown is undocumented. We cannot repatriate or deport everyone. So what happens to the ones that cannot be repatriated? We displace them, and then what? We still have a housing crisis on our hands. And that is not a Haitian issue. It's not an immigration issue. It's a Bahamian issue. It's an issue that we need to solve here for Bahamians. And then maybe the others, migrants, whomever come, can benefit from it. But we need to prioritize fixing the housing crisis across this country, as a caller mentioned, in St. Barnabas and Kemp Road and Beantown and Angaston, all of these places across the country. But I think we should prioritize Abaco because of the devastation and also maybe parts of Grand Bahama that Dorian left behind. But again, let's acknowledge that we have a housing crisis, and let's discuss that and try to work towards a plan.
Okay. Here's a text that came in. The solution is public-private partnerships. Governments give and guarantee affordable housing to Bahamians and permanent residents. I stand by employers who invite temporary work permit holders into the country being made to provide for their housing, and Bahamian immigration continuously and regularly following up with those temporary work permit holders and their living conditions. That would go a long way. That would go a long way.
That's a good one.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Louis, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time this morning. Appreciate talking with you this morning.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, guys. To you, Dwight and Laverne. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Folks, stay tuned. Coming up in Morning Blend Business, we're going to be talking about the credit bureau, which is on the horizon, and what you need to know and be thinking about now in terms of your banking at banking institutions and credit bureaus. All of that coming up after the break. Laverne, you sticking around with us?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful stuff. Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas. Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Welcome to Morning Blend Business on this Thursday, April 15th, 2021. Welcome back to our Morning Blend listeners. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan, joined by Laverne Gardner. Laverne? Still there? Yes? Yes, I think she... Oh, there we go. There we go. All right, great. This morning on Morning Blend Business, we are talking about responsible borrowing, especially with the credit bureau looming and what you need to know about dealing with banks and credit unions. We're going to get into that. Responsible borrowing this morning. And it is Financial Literacy Month, so this is part 2 in our series all month long, every Thursday, looking at financial literacy. But again, responsible borrowing, that's coming up. But first, it's time for your morning business report brought to you by CFAL. In your morning business report, Deputy Chairman of the National Tripartite Council, Peter Gowdy, saying he will bring up the matter of employers imposing a mandatory vaccination requirement for their staff when the body meets today for its next board meeting. Gowdy was contacted after it was revealed yesterday that certain businesses are making it a requirement for employees to get the AstraZeneca vaccine currently being distributed by the government. Gowdy, who is also a human resources consultant, saying that company owners must be certain they have sought the correct legal and medical advice before taking such a step. Read more on his comments in today's Guardian Business section. Executive Director of the Bahamas National Trust, Eric Carey, says that it's time for BPC to, quote, roll out as the oil company seeks to renew its licenses in the hopes of drilling another test well. The BNT, as a local environmental watchdog, has been staunchly against oil drilling. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis and Minister of Environment and Housing Romuald Ferreira have also publicly stated their opposition to drilling. It is yet to be seen what the government's response will be to renewing BPC's 4 licenses. Carey saying he's encouraged by what the Prime Minister and the Minister of Environment had to say. He's saying, quote, as the minister said, let's roll them out, roll them to some place where people don't think there is such a big risk to their existence. Again, you can read more of this in today's Guardian Business section. Meanwhile, BNT's science department is poring over Disney Cruise Line's environmental impact assessment and will submit its findings to the government when they are complete, according to Carey. It's called the Lighthouse Point Eleuthera development proposed by Disney, a, quote, very emotional issue. This as environmentalists seek to shut the project down, and some Eleutherans look forward to the prospect of new employment and small business opportunities. American Airlines has announced it's expanding its service into the Bahamas, adding a new direct route from Austin, Texas. The airline revealing in a statement yesterday that beginning in May, it's introducing new nonstop Saturday flights between Austin and Nassau. It says that as international demand has been slower to recover, American's international capacity will be down approximately 20% compared to the same period in 2019. But the airline remains committed to serving as many international destinations as possible and will continue to offer more flights to more destinations in Latin America and the Caribbean than any other airline. Overseas, Coinbase making a rousing debut on Wall Street, with shares of the digital currency exchange rising as high as $429, value of over $100 billion. Coinbase Global Inc.'s initial public offering happened with cryptocurrency chatter seemingly everywhere, even at the U.S. Federal Reserve. Digital currencies are being incorporated into business plans and accepted for payment by major corporations like Tesla, PayPal, and Visa. The San Francisco-based company's listing on a public stock exchange is seen by some as an inflection point for digital currencies, as Coinbase's fortunes are closely tied to Bitcoin, the most popular cryptocurrency. Bitcoin's price topped $64,000 on Wednesday, up from $29,000 at the start of the year. And Coinbase said recently that first quarter revenue should total around $1.8 billion, exceeding its revenue for all of 2020. Also from the U.S., newly vaccinated and armed with $1,400 in stimulus checks, Americans went on a spending spree last month, buying new clothes and going out to eat again. Retail sales surged a seasonally adjusted 9.8% after dropping about 3% the month before. That's according to the Commerce Department. The rise in March was much better than the 5.5% increase Wall Street analysts had expected. Thursday's report, which covers about a third of overall consumer spending, is the latest sign that the economy in the U.S. is improving as vaccinations accelerate, business restrictions are relaxed, and more people are willing to head out to shop or eat. Employers added 916,000 jobs last month, the most since August, and U.S. consumer confidence surged in March to the highest level in a year. A third round of stimulus checks was sent out beginning in the middle of March, with most adults receiving $1,400. So far, about 159 million direct payments have been paid out to households, totaling $376 billion. Closer to home in your Market Watch, recapping trading on the BISX from Wednesday. Your market movers, Commonwealth Brewery moving 3,000 shares, closing down 5 cents to $4.40. Doctors Hospital moving 200, closing unchanged at $7. Focall moving 2,000, closing up 22 cents to $3.99. Consolidated Water up 3 cents, closing at $2.53. Emira Incorporated up 2 cents, closing at $11.33. The BISX All Share Index closing at 1,957.34, up 9.13. That's your Market Watch, and that is your morning business report brought to you by CFAO, growing wealth for future generations. You're listening to Morning Blend Business. When we come back, we're talking about responsible borrowing, especially with the credit bureau right on the horizon, what you need to be thinking about. That's all part of our Financial Literacy Month series. Stay tuned. We'll be back after these messages.
Roaming just got easier. Say hello to more with our new Liberty Prime plan. With more minutes, more texts, and more data to do the things you love right here at home and even when you travel. With the all-new Liberty Prime, Liberty Premium, and Liberty Elite, you've got one less worry. Roam again. Alive. Believe in best. Believe in best.
Imagine. That's where every advancement begins, with an idea that things can be different, better. Now, imagine a world where your entertainment experience was all about you, your style, your show, at your budget. At Rev, that's what we've imagined. To join the conversation and learn more about the future of Rev TV, visit us at rev.bs/imagine.
Beulah, gal, can you believe this? We are now the patrol queens of the neighborhood.
We now large and in charge. So we need to check out what's going on in everybody's yard. What about that gun that we know that Junior and his homeboys just ran out? Can we report that too?
Of course we can.
But we could be in deep trouble if they find out.
We need to report what we see, Beulah. When you call Crime Stoppers, they just answer your call in Miami.
So then we can report everything? Guns, where they hiding the drugs, who shoot who part of which gang, or who disturbing the peace with the loud music and the motorcycles.
Then our neighborhood will be the best in the Bahamas, and everybody gonna want to come live here. And then our house price will go up, gal.
So what we waiting on? What's the number?
If you see something, say something. Let us all pitch in and stop the crime before it's your time. Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands. Or text us through the Crack Crime Bahamas app. Stop the crime before it's your time.
Hello, sir. Your credit card bill is due. Hello, sir. It's time for your monthly loan payment. Tired of creditors pounding at your door? Sign up for a debt consolidation loan from Fidelity Bank and consolidate your debt into one low monthly payment. What's more, you will also earn interest on a built-in savings account. The pandemic has curbed many freedoms, but at Fidelity, our focus is to help regain your financial freedom. Visit a branch or speak to Fidelity Bank at 356-7764. COVID Fidelity, we're good for you.
Welcome back to Morning Blend Business here on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Laverne Gardner. Again, we're talking about responsible borrowing. Very pleased to have back with us from Druber Solutions, Nathaniel Butler, lead coach there, and also from Druber Solutions, financial planner and corporate trainer Dino Cartwright, and from Black Pearl Consulting Firm, money management expert Letitia Black. Good morning. Great to have you all with us.
Morning, Dwight.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Responsible borrowing. Responsible borrowing. Is there ever such a thing? People will tell you quickly, well, don't borrow money. Don't go to the bank. Don't do that. Try to save it all and do it all yourself. But can you do it responsibly and not end up regretting what you've done while you're in the middle of making the payments?
Wow, such a loaded statement, such a loaded question. I think what we have to now distinguish is the fact that in order for us to acquire assets in this country, even outside of this country, we're not going to have enough capital to do it all on our own. Even if we were to partner, we still may not have enough capital. And so there gives us an opportunity through borrowing institutions for assets that appreciate in value or assets that produce cash flow, or more importantly, something like an asset that has sentimental value, such as a home. These are the items we would more consider responsible borrowing, because they help you get ahead in life. They help you provide a safe place for your family, and more importantly, they help you to provide extra streams of income or wealth creation for you and to be passed on to the next generation. I think most persons who may be financially literate, I'm not saying everyone, but most persons who are financially literate, their introduction to borrowing is misguided in a lot of cases. I think many of them are, and I'll let my colleagues chime in, I think many of them are enticed on the idea of building credit. And because of money scripts in our last conversation and the financial psychology there, and wanting to be gratified right now instead of down the road, you find that they'll get one loan and then get into another loan and get a credit card, and then life just happens. And so now in order to fund life, they do it through credit versus their own money.
Wow. Okay. Now that's very powerful stuff there, Nathaniel. So based on what you're saying, the big choice, the big life-changing matters, yes, borrow for that, but not for that vacation or not for the shopping spree. Am I getting you right there?
Yeah, I am literally saying, and see, Dwight, we got to be so careful when we say it, even though I'm 100% in agreement with you, because there's so many persons who believe that from the day they were born, from the day they knew themselves, their family has always took a family vacation. They probably went to the States, and nowadays Bahamians are traveling to all kind of other countries. In their mind, vacation loan is essential. Sending your child to private school, you may not have the cash flow, so sometimes you have to get that top up to send your child back to high school or send them to the private school. So that's essential. Car breakdown, you need transportation, get a short-term loan. Let's get the car. So these become essential, but no, these loans in the long term do not help you. In the medium term, do not help you, but it may satisfy a short-term need.
And I want Dino and Letitia to jump in as well. But I mean, the banks tell people, young people all the time, that you need to establish credit with a little loan for this and little loan for that. And when you do go without ever borrowing money for that mortgage for the first something, they look at you like, well, who the heck are you? So how do you find the balance with this?
I guess I can chime in there, a part of it. Oftentimes, what banks won't tell you is that you can build credit or build some history with the bank, not only with the conventional credit, but with a consistent savings plan. If they can see you saving consistently a set amount, that also adds to your reputation with the bank. And so that's what a lot of banks won't tell us. The second thing is that also, if it comes to actually getting credit, what I would tell persons is there are monthly bills that come in anyway. You pay your BPL, you pay your cable bill and everything like that, and you're normally paying with cash or debit card. If the bank then deems it necessary that you have a credit product, I would say get a small credit card, about $1,000 or so. Pay your monthly bills on that, pay your monthly expenses using that, and then pay it right off the same way that you would pay with your cash. And so this would also help to build credit over time. And so there are various ways that you can do this without actually getting an outright loan to more or less build up your credit. So those are two ways that they can build up their credit, because when you talk about building credit, you're really talking about building a reputation with the bank. And this happens by consistent saving, or if you get a small credit card, pay your monthly bills on that credit card and pay it off on time, and pay everything off, and then you can building credit as you go along.
Yeah. Well, all right. So, Letitia,
I just wanted to interject and say this is really this is really good advice for people who are tuned in, because, like Dwight said, you feel like the only way that you could build credit is by so, to be able to understand. And I guess, it goes back to financial psychology, financial literacy. Nathaniel, I'm still not over the fact that you said I can't depend on my children for my retirement. So I'm still working through that. But from the last time you were on, what I wanted to say was that a lot of times, like Dwight said, we see these things, like Nathaniel said, we see these things as essential to be able to go on that vacation, to be able to pay, of course, your children's school fee and all of that. But having to go to the banks to get these kinds of loans, does it really speak to our spending habits or maybe our saving habits, the lack thereof?
Oh, wow, great question. And I'll let Ms. Black chime in as well. But I'll say this. So you got to remember now, the premise of how we interact with money, how we interact with financial institutions are based on our money scripts and even just based on our goals and objectives in life. And because sometimes we're dealing with an informed individual, and sometimes you're not dealing with an informed individual, you'll find that the decisions that they make are made mostly on money scripts and mostly on the information that is provided to them. And so I think the challenge now is it's sometimes not a matter of savings or a matter of spending, but it's just a matter of overall management. So I'll give you an example. If a family wants to borrow money to get a duplex, get a triplex, an income generating, and that's fine. If they have a medical crisis and they have a means of paying it off, it's just mostly a cash flow issue. They just don't have the money at this present point in time, but they're gonna get the money and they could meet that immediate need. So things like that, yes. But when you start to get into just regular everyday living, it may not be because you're not generating enough money. Some cases it is, in some cases it's not, but it's more about how you manage that money. And because the lack thereof, you find yourself having to not even just borrow from the banks. Let's start at home. You borrowing from family and friends and co-workers just to meet ends meet. And so what we're saying is, one, first and foremost, we're not beating anyone down, because I said before in the last presentation last week, most of us were never taught. So you can't expect someone who might be ignorant, not in a bad sense, but ignorant in regards to money, to do extremely well in all areas of money. You get what I'm saying? And then the second thing is, when you start bringing up this obtaining credit, managing money, there are a lot of emotions that are attached to this as well. People feel guilt, shame, disappointment, anxiety. The list goes on, all because of their spending, their savings, their sharing, their giving, their income generation may not be where they think that it should be, or they may not live up to their potential. And that goes right back to why we're here today. It all starts and ends with financial literacy and applying what information you learn. Not only just having the strategies, the external strategies to change your circumstances, but also changing your inner belief system as well to match the strategies that you're about to apply.
Mm-hmm. Letitia Black, what do you have to say on this hot matter?
I'm in agreement with the right mindset, but while persons may have not been aware of what it is to be financially responsible, gone are the days where you can say, I don't know.
Wow.
Now is the time, as yourself and all of the other persons on the panel discuss, now is the time to get to learn the lingo of how to do responsible borrowing, how to manage your finances. Checking your Google as you would check anything else to be able to determine what it is that you need to know, how to learn about credit scores, how to learn about debt service ratios, how to learn about the credit bureau, so that you don't have to find yourself being further frustrated when it comes to borrowing. Sometimes stepping back and looking at your financial position and how it is that you can improve the lifestyle for yourself and your family. Because remember that your decisions today it's also the children tomorrow. And so we are our responsibility. We must ensure that we do our part when it comes to learning what it is to be responsible borrowers. And all it takes is sometimes just Googling, getting to know what it is that you was. And perhaps not only that, going through a pre-assessment from the financial institution and learning what it is that you need as a consumer when it comes to borrowing.
All right, so where should it start? When should it start? Before you start working, immediately after you finish school, immediately after you start your first job. What do you need to know?
Now is the time. Now is the time to have the conversation, and financial institutions are open and willing to have the conversation with you if you are unable to identify with what it is that you need for responsible borrowing in the future. You may not be seeking to borrow now, Dwight, but you may be seeking to borrow in the next 6 months or in the next 12 months. So sitting down, scheduling an appointment with the financial institutions and asking the questions. And even if it seems as if you are ignorant of the fact, the mere fact that you're going there is taking the step to say, hey, I'm empowering myself so that I can empower my family so that we can be well achieved when it comes to our financial responsibilities.
All right, you said something interesting. You mentioned debt service ratio that comes up every time you want to borrow anything from a financial institution. Yes. But just because you don't go over your debt service ratio, does that mean it's responsible?
Not necessarily, no, because sometimes you still extend it and not realizing, because most persons don't realize when you sit with your credit officer, they would then ask you questions similar to that, where what is it that is coming in and what is it that is going out? Do you realize that your debt service ratio in most financial institutions is either between 40, 45, 55%? In most cases, it may go up to 65%, but that's a discretion on management when it comes to that credit, that application that's being submitted. But you want to make sure that you are identifying what is it that you need to be able to be within the confines of responsible borrowing.
Yeah. All right.
Can you just explain, maybe for some people that don't really understand what their debt service ratio is, what it consists of?
Thank you, Laverne. Your debt service ratio is considered, for most cases, the credit officer may say your DSR or your TDSR. And so it's your monthly income divided by your monthly expense. And so in most cases, persons may not realize is when you sit with your credit officer and your loan is declined, sometimes out of frustration, you don't get the opportunity to really properly understand why your loan is being declined, because in that moment, all you're thinking is, I don't have the money for my children's school fee. I don't have the money for my mortgage. I don't have the money for my car payment. And so sometimes, even in those emotions that is being built up based on the decline of that loan, you can ask the loan officer may then in turn say to you, ma'am, sir, your loan has been declined because you're a DSR. And then perhaps they may invite you to do financial counseling, and then they begin to identify ways in which you can now become better and responsible for the next loan. And so it's your monthly income divided by your monthly expense. And that's monthly income, whether it's your primary income or whether it's your side hustles, because of course we live in an era where side hustles can act as additional income when it comes to borrowing. And then it's your monthly expense. What is coming out? What loans do you have currently? Are you chronically borrowing every 6 months because the offer is there, or are you being prudent? And remember now, we live in an environment with the financial institutions where they seek to do loans so that they can increase their books. But at the same time, even for those that are unaware, it is imperative that you be very, very wise so that you don't find yourself every 6 months, every 9 months, every 12 months returning back for top-ups unnecessarily. Wow. We want to practice responsible borrowing, even though the options are. That goes on to what our initial question was. Sometimes even with your increased savings, you have to ensure that if your bank or your credit union is calling you, do you really need that loan?
Right.
But because you have the exorbitant amount of money on your account means that, hey, I'm willing to take out that next credit because it's available. No, you want to ensure that even with the access that you have, because of the way that you practice thus far, no, I'm going to wait, because at the end of the day, in the long run, it's going to benefit me. So be mindful. Just take the opportunity to be empowered with the information so that you can be better financially savvy.
Yeah. That brings us to credit cards. And the banks love to increase your limit. When they do that, should you say, no, I'm okay, leave it like that? Or what do you say to that?
Dwight, sorry. With that question, when they increase your credit limit, oftentimes it's a matter of discipline. So even if they increase your credit limit, that's not necessarily a bad thing because you don't know what emergency may be around the corner that may need that increased credit limit. But just what we said, just because you have an increased credit limit doesn't mean that this is a free for all and you spend it. So they can increase it. Your payment doesn't increase along with that because you're really only paying based on what you've spent. All right. So we'll just advise persons that even in the midst of an unexpected emergency, they can have that increased limit, but they don't have to spend up to that increased limit.
What are some advice that you give people with their credit cards? You know, that people get themselves into a lot of problems with credit cards.
With credit cards, and as we come back to responsible borrowing, the first thing is that you should know your due date. Knowing your due date is critical because you ought to know, because anytime there's about a 5-day grace period over your due date where they start incurring charges, but it's important that you know your due date to pay that on time. Another key thing that we tell persons with credit card is only spend what you're able to pay back at the end of your next payment cycle. And so your credit card is not just quote unquote free money. All of the money that you're spending and that you don't pay off is actually put onto next month's bill, and compound interest would be the thing that would that naturally kills persons. So after a while, you found that you spent $500 on a dress. You wore this dress one time, but if you don't pay that $500 off during this pay cycle, you would find that $500 is interest rates, or the interest on that $500 is multiplied every month that you don't pay that back in total. And so we advise persons who have credit cards to use it very sparingly, use it and as much as possible, pay it off before the next payment cycle. That's why a part of responsible borrowing is always knowledge, knowing what you owe, knowing how much you're paying back, knowing your due date. And knowing your due date is important, not only with credit cards, but with your regular loans, because as I often say, you can change careers, and you may have been paid during your first job when you first got the loan twice a month. And so your payment is pegged against a certain date. But when you would have moved to another job and you're now being paid once a month, and your cash inflow is now changed to the end of the month, these days between when you would have paid by your last job and when you are being paid now, the difference in those 14 days or so always incurs late fees. So when you change jobs, go back to the bank and let them know, hey, I've changed my job. This is my new date. How can I adjust my payment due date to reflect my new payday cycle so that I won't be charged these late fees that add up over time? It's a part of responsible borrowing. It's not just knowing which bank to go to, but it's also knowing when my due date is. And it's important also, a part of responsible borrowing, even with credit cards, to shop around, because there are some places that offer different rates on credit cards. There are some persons that offer different incentives with different credit cards. So you want to know everything about your credit card, everything about your credit before you go ahead and you borrow.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to talk about who to borrow from, and what you need to keep in mind. And again, with the credit bureau approaching, what that's going to mean with the credit history information, all of that. We're going to get to that after the break. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Stay with us.
Your home and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAL, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
Boy, why you look so mashed up like clothes at the washer?
No, boy, just a hard day, boy.
Hard day? What happened? The breakfast lady ran out of tuna and gritty.
We need to start joking about everything, you know. This serious, boy. This real serious, boy.
Boy, what's serious? Tell me.
All right, well, today, boss gave us, boy, one big contract. And nobody else get a chance and nobody say nothing.
Boy, you know that ain't right. You know government contracts ain't supposed to go that way.
Yeah, but nobody's saying nothing. Boss man just tell people to sign the papers, then he send me to meet his boy downtown and collect this envelope.
You need to tell somebody. You need to become a whistleblower.
You know I's a real man, but I never blow no whistle. I be drunk all my life and junk, you know.
No way. A whistleblower is someone who tells people what they see when they see something wrong happening at work.
But I ain't no whistleblower, and I ain't no snitch. I still white there, you know.
But ain't nobody gonna know it's you. All you gotta do is call Crime Stoppers, or you could text them from inside the Crack Crime Bahamas app. They don't ask about you, and your call goes straight through to Miami, so nobody know you is. And if you text, your message get mixed up like Kong Salad.
Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands.
For the past 33 years, Great Commission Ministries has been defending the poor and hurting, feeding the hungry, and sheltering the homeless. We invite you to support our Live to Give program and make a difference in these challenging times. Become a donor by giving a one-time annual gift or a monthly donation of $50 or $100. Call these at 325-5801 for more details, or visit our headquarters at 237 Wolf Road. Join Live to Give today. This public service announcement is proudly sponsored by this radio station.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
And we've got your final look at weather for today. Here's what's happening. We've got high pressure that will continue to create pleasant conditions across the country through tonight. Beachgoers, though, should remain alert due to the risk of rip currents. Today, throughout the day today. For today, for all areas, your forecast calls for partly sunny to sunny and warm conditions with stray showers, becoming mostly fair and mild tonight. 74 degrees right now under fair skies in Nassau. Look for highs getting up to around 82 Fahrenheit, 28 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to about 66 Fahrenheit, 19 Celsius. In your extended outlook, weak ridging will continue to be the dominant weather feature across the country into the weekend. So for Friday, tomorrow, and Saturday, we're expecting partly sunny to sunny and warm conditions with a slight chance of a few light showers. That pattern should hold until Monday, when rain chances will creep up a bit. But highs in the 80s, lows in the low 70s for the next few days. That's your morning blend weather check.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 Nassau, Bahamas.
Dollar, that's what I need. Hey, hey. Well, I need a dollar, that's what I need. Hey, hey. Said I need a dollar, that's what I need. And if I share with you my story, would you share your dollar with me? Bad times are coming.
And we are back here with Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Laverne Gardner. We are talking about responsible borrowing, part of our financial literacy series all month long here on Morning Blend Business. We've got back with us Nathaniel Butler with Druber Solutions, along with Dino Cartwright, also from Druber Solutions, and Letitia Black from Black Pearl Consulting Firm. All right, so who to borrow from? I think it was mentioned earlier about borrowing from your family and your friends. I don't know if that's responsible, but who do you recommend? Does it matter on what you're borrowing for? What are some things to keep in mind? We've got a lot of little firms offering some quick loans now and short-term loans. What do we need to keep in mind when you look at borrowing money?
Well, I'll say this, and I know the others have more to chime in. When you look at every institution has their ideal client. They have a client profile, I should say. Some financial institutions who do not like risks or a whole lot of risks. They tend to focus on government workers who are permanent and pensionable. Time in yesteryear at the same time. But from since 2008, even up to now, you find that many financial institutions are backed away from the hotel workers as such. And then we have other institutions that are also government-owned that focus on the more vulnerable in our society. I would say this, when you're dealing with a financial institution and you're borrowing, and we're talking about borrowing for the right reasons or good debt, I would say shop around. Before you even, like Ms. Black would have mentioned, before you even need it, find out what you're pre-qualified for. And then when the time comes for that particular, it's time to acquire wherever asset it is to move your family forward, now you're in a position to know the process and also what you pre-qualify for at that time. And then once you get an updated check-in with them, it's updated. Possibly you could possibly borrow more. However, you could probably even get it at a better interest rate because now the rates are good. One of the things that I've learned from Dino, and he said this to me in another setting, that when you sit to the table and you borrow from a financial institution, it's a negotiation. You can bring up the fact that I went to institution A, B, and they're offering me this and that. And watch the institution C now goes back, figure out what they can offer you to be competitive just to keep you. And of course, that's more persons on the higher tier who are in good standing. Of course, those on the lower tier may not have as many options. The only other thing I want to say with the payday lenders and loan sharks is this. They want society who are over the debt service ratio, as Ms. Black eloquently put it, who are well over probably the 50%. And they cannot get financing or they cannot get refinancing from traditional institutions. And when you look at the interest rate that those payday lenders and loan sharks offer, I mean, it's just absorbent. And you find that persons stay in this debt cycle or this debt trap, and it's very difficult, not saying impossible, but extremely difficult to get out, because every time you try to get out of it, there's some life event that is happening that requires funding. And most of your salary is in deductions, and you have very little, very, very little that you take home.
Well, that's an interesting term, loan sharks. That's what they are, eh? Yep.
I'll also like to say as well, in addition to what Nathaniel said, yes, the vulnerable, if you are in a position that you feel vulnerable because of your poor decisions that you would have made due to lack of knowledge, all hope isn't lost. The thing is now using these platforms that you're presently listening to, or what you will listen to in the future, is to get the information. Because while you may have been in a position where you may have needed the money is for whatever the reason may have been, remember now, you're now changing your mindset so that you can now be more prudent and so that your money can work for you. The end goal is making your money work for you. And so, as Nathaniel would have said when he alluded to what Dino indicated, remember now, it's like shopping for shoes, ladies and gentlemen. It's like, remember, it's the perfect fit, or the closest to the perfect fit that you're going to wear. When you walk out of an institution, you want to be secure in your decisions, because at the end of the day, it's all about how you are being able to advance. And so be mindful, again, it's all about the perfect fit and or the closest to the perfect fit, so that you can be able to sit back and say, I don't regret that decision that I made, right, whether it be 10 years, 20 years, or 35 years from now.
So just because you bank with that institution now doesn't mean that you should necessarily get a loan from them. Is that right?
No, because remember, like Nathaniel said, it's all about negotiations, and negotiations is a powerful tool. And so when you're able to negotiate the better profit for you, then hey, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
And we must also remember that, the adage, the customer is king. If we go in there with that mindset, letting take out the emotions out of it and recognize that without your service, without your loan, that bank doesn't make its profit, you would understand that you now are sitting in the seat where they have to now convince you to take out a loan for them. That's why we try to get persons to understand also that when you're going to get a loan, take the emotions out of it, take the desperation out of it, and go and as my fellow panelists said, get the best fit, because you're going in there and you're telling them, what can you offer me today? Yeah. Same thing we used to do when we go to the flea market back in the day. You go from one stall to the next stall to the next stall and say, you know what? I went up the road. They had 5 T-shirts for $10. And so what are you going to do for me today? When we go to the bank, we go there with this understanding that we are the boss. We are the ones who make the decision. We are the one who... out barring any immediate thing, there are many competitors today. And as Nad would have said regarding loan sharks and payday lenders, they are more skewed toward those who are so desperate, they don't care what they're signing. They just sign here, and here, and not realizing that they're paying double or even sometimes triple the amount. Okay, so we must get persons to understand that you are as a customer, you make the decision, you make the final decision on who you're getting a loan from. And and even with mortgages now, because there are so many competitive rates, you can be able to switch a mortgage from one bank to the next and get a better rate, because these banks are now in competition for the same small pool of borrowers. So you have to keep all of this in mind, that you have the leverage or you have the upper hand in all of this negotiation.
Yeah. Laverne?
Sorry, yeah. In light of, the credit bureau and everything coming on, what is it that we should be mindful of now? Because, in terms of having credit, I know you said understanding what credit rating is, but what are some of the things that as an individual we need to be mindful of when we are thinking about getting loans, or what should we be thinking about now or conscious of?
We should be conscious of our spending habit. We should be conscious of, are we paying our bill on time? Because really what your credit report gives a reflection of is not only the amount of bills that you have, but are you paying them on time? Not even to the fact of, okay, I'm paying them, but are you paying them within the prescribed period that you're supposed to be paying them? Because like I would have mentioned earlier, even when you change jobs and when you got your first loan, your due date would have been the 17th, but now you're at a job where you're getting paid on the 30th. Even though you're paying on the 30th, which according to you is paying this loan, you are 13 days late based on the original due date. And so you want to be conscious of what your due date is. And this is why even before the credit bureau comes into effect this summer, you want to make sure that you're sitting with your lender to know, okay, where do I stand? What is it that I'm paying? Am I paying on time? Am I incurring late fees? To myself. And also when you're talking about your credit report, you also want to make sure that everything that you are paying back, you actually have a good account of it, because sometimes there's some things that may be in your credit report that you don't even recognize or remember that you would have been paying, that you may have been delinquent on. And all of this shows up on your credit report. The credit report, they're going to start off with their commercial banks, but they're going to eventually expand to credit unions, eventually expand to other credit facilities or credit lending agencies, and then eventually expand to utility companies. And so even with your BPL bill, your BTC bill, and everything like that, you want to ensure that you are paying these, not only paying these, but you want to ensure that you're paying on time.
Wow.
And if I may, I just want to chime in with that as well, with the credit bureau. First and foremost, to let everybody know that the central bank has already contracted a entity to do the credit reporting. This was made available through the Credit Reporting Act in 2018. We should soon be in receipt of our first credit reporting. They're giving this entity about 18 months to start the process, gather the information from the relevant agencies, relevant organizations, and then eventually we'll have our first set of credit scores. With that being said, I also want to make mention to the fact that once we have these scores, couple things that we need to be mindful of. One, it's going to be based on a limited amount of information that is being reported about you. And mostly, like Dina would have mentioned, the type of debt and the payment and how much on them. In addition to that, no one can request your credit score without your authorization. I want to make that very clear.
Wow.
You have access to getting a report for yourself on an annual basis for free. And last but not least, if there is, for whatever reason, some type of mistake on the credit history of your credit report, you have, one, the right to make a complaint. Two, you can dispute it, the inaccurate information with the credit bureau. And then lastly, the credit bureau is now responsible based on the act. They're responsible to take the reasonable actions or the necessary action to verify and make any necessary corrections to any information that might be incorrect on your application. And this is important because we have to realize several things. One, in order to borrow in the very, very near future, many financial institutions will look at your credit score. Two, sometimes even from renting a space, landlords may require you to provide them with your credit score. And last but not least, certain jobs may also request and want to have an idea of your credit scores, mostly in the financial services. So we want to be mindful of these things as we move closer and closer to that time.
And do we know how far back they're going to go looking at your credit history?
Great question. So they will, based on the framework or the framework of the timeline what the central bank would have given them. I cannot speak to those details, but I would say that whenever you have one of the central bankers on the show, they can kind of speak more specifically to that.
And we're going to have them on very soon to talk about it, hopefully. All right. So let me ask you, getting back to responsible borrowing, are there differences between the banks and the credit unions when it comes to borrowing? Things that we need to keep in mind? Are credit unions going to be a better fit for some people versus banks? What do we need to know?
Definitely, Dwight. There is a difference in the way in which credit unions operate from the commercial banks. The commercial banks are, in most cases, their concept is loans for the most part, and how they're able to provide ways for credit, whether it's revolving loans, whether it's credit cards, et cetera, so that they can provide lending for their customers. But the credit union, we do this. The credit union does the same thing. However, the savings mechanism is in place. Remember now, the credit union is a membership organization. And so the membership part of it is when you open an account with the credit union, your voice matters. And so as a result, when you walk in, you're not walking in to say that I'm just a consumer or a customer, whichever one you want to choose. You're actually a member. And so when you look in and you open up a qualifying share or you open up a regular share savings, you're saying now you have a vested interest in the organization and how they are able to be empowered to move to the next level. And so there is a great difference between the commercial banks and credit unions. I would say that when you're looking at responsible borrowing, the responsibility is how is your money going to work for you? What advantages are you looking to achieve when you put your money in the organization of choice? Are you going to yield from a savings account and also other benefits where your money is now also protected from the credit union standpoint? Or versus, are you just looking for loans that you can flip and do things? The choice is completely up to you. But again, like I said, learning what it is that you need is very, very important.
Yeah. Wow. All right, we're running out of time, but here's a couple questions coming in. Somebody's asking, please ask if it's necessary to take out insurance on your credit card. I did, but I'm finding it to be very costly. Can I go without? I've never even heard of this before. Insurance on your credit card?
So just a quick answer. So you can take out almost insurance on anything.
Oh, wow.
If you are a regular credit card user, but you pay off your bill before the end of the month, then I really don't see a great need for it because the risk of it is very low. But if you're a credit card user, you're traveling all the time, you're putting a number of, you're charging it on every transactions that you do, there may be potentially a need for you to have that insurance there, especially when you're using the credit card for more business transaction, and the probability of identity theft is very, very high.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Good to know.
And also, even with shopping around with credit cards, there are some credit cards that have built-in insurance as well. So it covers your transactions. So you want to make sure that when you're discussing credit cards, you're find out if there is some insurance that covers your transactions, to ensure that even if there is a case of mistaken identity, your finances are secured.
I would have thought that would have been most of them. That right?
No.
Wow. Okay. All right. That's really very good to know. All right. So how can people, we have about 45 seconds. How can people get the information that Letitia Black talked about? How is there, you mentioned Google, but how else can people find out more, and so they can be better consumers, better borrowers?
I would say this: you have many websites, many independent financial planners and advisors, but I'll start off with the Get Money Smart campaign that the Clearing Banks Association, in partnership with the central bank. You could start there and then matriculate yourself through the blogs from credited and reputable persons in the industry, like a Drupal Solutions, by the way, and a Black Pearl. And then you can also have the conversation with the banks as well. Go into the financial institutions, have the conversations. I mean, one, they don't charge you, and two, they will give you information as it pertains to their product line.
Yeah, that's great advice there. Thank you very much, Nathaniel Butler, Dino Cartwright, Letitia Black. It's been a pleasure. Really had a great conversation with you this morning, learning a lot. And we look forward to next week, part 3 of the series. Thank you again.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Laverne.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Pleasure. Always a pleasure.
We'll be back next week, Thursday, with you. Can't wait. And I'll be back tomorrow morning with more Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan, have a great day. On the Clock with Aaron Green coming up next.